Tuesday, August 24th, 2021. It is 9:02. We're going to call our meeting to order. The invocation will be led by Pastor Ted Stack, Family Services, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be done by me today. So all rise who can.
Bow your heads with me this morning. Almighty Father, today we give thanks for our beloved Putnam County. We're grateful to be able to worship, work, and witness your goodness to us here in Putnam County. There are great challenges, important decisions, and specific opportunities before us today that we beseech your wisdom in. We pause for a moment, recognizing that each one of us here today have friends, neighbors, and acquaintances that presently carry COVID in their body or have passed on and graduated to eternity. We are asking that you would bring comfort to those who face the loss of loved ones and healing to those that are in the midst of their battle. We pause for a moment to think upon and pray for these individuals and families. Would you pause just for a moment and reflect with me? Today I pray for the unity and synergy of this Board of County Commissioners and those with influence that find themselves in this meeting today. Lord, I believe that each and every one of these commissioners is on assignment from you in order to benefit those who live and work in this beloved county. May you guide their thoughts, direct their actions, and release your wisdom for each and every point of action today. We continue with a heart of gratitude and thankfulness, no matter what life brings our way. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Stackpole, thank you for those words and prayer that you offered for us today. And Board, our next item of approval is our approval of the minutes as stated in your agenda packet.
Move approval.
Proper motion by Commissioner Turner.
I'll second.
Proper second by Commissioner Pickens. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. We have a 9:10. Julianne, how long will it take you to do your countywide projects? Maybe we can go ahead and slide that in and get closer to our 9. All right, then we're going to move down to presentations. Item B, Julianne will take countywide projects. Hold on to your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a lot to happen today.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here with our monthly project updates. Just a reminder, this is not an all-encompassing list of every project or initiative underway by county departments. It's a list of projects that are of most importance to the Commission, administration, and/or our citizens. With that, we'll remind everyone of the animal control facility that we are underway with. Core borings were obtained. The analysis was provided to Commissioner Rawls, who is working on the final details, and staff is preparing a draft RFQ to solicit the engineer architectural services. The Department of Health interior building renovations. The Putnam County Department of Health renovations are almost complete. The contractor is finishing up the final touches and will notify the architect when they are ready for final inspections. The Department of Health is leading our COVID initiatives. Testing is available Monday through Thursday from 9 to 2 at the Husson Avenue. Vaccines are available at the Putnam County Health Department Monday through Friday from 9 to 3. Both services are being offered as a walk-up and no appointments are needed. The IT department has a county-wide phone system upgrades underway. IT has begun an upgrade to our county phone systems that will replace the copper phone lines with redundant fiber connectivity. The upgrade will result in approximately $1,600 per month in savings. The library division has the Melrose Library expansion underway. Construction on the library is underway and a tentative schedule is as follows. The rough-in for electrical is underway. Mechanical is to be installed next week. The drywall the week following. Exterior door framing installed tomorrow. The brick will start next week. Windows are to be installed in 8 weeks. Roofing to be completed within the next week. The door opening to the existing library will happen after the additions is secured and weather tight. Parks and Recreation is underway with the Georgetown Park and Pavilion. Relevant GIS data to process the various site characteristics has been gathered. A high-level site inventory regarding slope, topography, hydrology has been performed, and development of the site design is currently in process. Prominent trees and other structures to inform the schematic design will be located later this month. Parks and Recreation also has the Flora Home Park Historic Building project underway. The rough plumbing has been completed. The exterior trim has been installed. They're trying to schedule the rough electrical and septic tank installation. They believe 2 bids for the well installation will be submitted to the county this week. Exterior lap siding, pressure washed. Prep work is being done for priming and painting. The community is going to have a paint party scheduled for September 4th, beginning at 9 a.m. A hot dog lunch, watermelon, and drinks will be provided to all volunteers that are willing to paint. The Historic Association will meet with Dana Jones regarding TDC options, and they have also been awarded a clay electric grant on Wednesday, August 18th, in the clubhouse in the amount of $7,500. The Planning Division has the comprehensive plan update going. Staff continues to work on addressing the comments sent to the county by the Department of Economic Opportunity. Addressing the comments requires ongoing staff research, additional language to be incorporated into the comp plan elements, and editing of the comprehensive plan maps. Once the changes are made, staff will bring the comp plan before the Board of County Commissioners for final review and adoption. The Building Department has the CitizenServe onlining permanent project. CitizenServe is underway on data migration and integration, and they have a go live for the 1st of September. The Fort Gates Ferry, all permits have been approved and completed. The lumber has been purchased, the statement of work has been compiled, and Public Works is soliciting quotes to begin construction. The Barden Bridge construction is underway. The new traffic pattern without the current weight limit restriction is anticipated by the end of August. Final completion is still scheduled for October 23rd. Lake Susan Road, Phase 2, the construction is substantially complete. A discussion regarding a change order request is scheduled for this afternoon's BOCC workshop. St. John's Avenue resurfacing, Palm Avenue to CSX crossing at the fire department. 100% of the design plans has been submitted for FDOT review and approval. Construction is anticipated to begin by December. The 310 bridge rehabilitation, the crutch bench system has been designed. It is in process, Final permitting activities are underway. Septic to sewer conversion, the award to the construction contract has been approved. A pre-construction meeting will be held with the contractor once the bonds and insurance documents have been obtained. Completion of the project is anticipated to be April of 2022. Dirt to pave 2020, all 3 contractors that were awarded have began construction phase of the project. 7 of 17 roads have been completed. They are Silver Beach Boulevard, Magnolia, North Beach Street, Cypress Point Circle, Lakeview Trail, Twin Lakes Boulevard, and Cinnamon Drive. Construction activities on Hunter Road and College Road are currently underway. We are estimated to have the project totally complete October of 2021. East Putnam drainage and flooding mitigation. The construction of Phase 2 is complete. Phase 2 punch list items have been addressed. The contractor was provided a notice to proceed and a start date of August 17, 2021. Phase 3 bid documents are underway and anticipated to be advertised by the end of August. St. John's Avenue drainage improvements, State Road 19 to County Road 309C. The engineer design services and advertisement for construction activities are scheduled to be complete by January 2022. St. John's Avenue multi-use trail, the change order is being reviewed by FDOT for consideration to provide Putnam County with additional funding. Once a decision has been made by FDOT, the change order will be presented to the BOCC for execution. FDOT will provide the county with concurrence to begin construction after the change order has been approved. Countywide drainage improvements, bids were received on August 16th. Recommendations to award will be presented to the BOCC in the next meeting. South Palm Sidewalk, Druid Street to Silver Lake Drive. 100% design plans have been reviewed and approved by FDOT. Putnam County Public Works will be presenting the funding agreement for construction during this afternoon's workshop. Saratoga Harbor Drainage Project. 100% of the design plans have been approved by Public Works, scheduled to advertise after permit requirements are complete. James A. Long Elementary and Jenkins Middle School safe routes to school. 100% of the design submittals are scheduled for August 25th. Fiscal year 21 roads resurfacing projects. Resurfacing of Doorlight, Schwan Lake, Carlin, Old Wielaka Road have all been completed. Resurfacing of Wirtz and Live Oak Street are underway. All remaining road locations are scheduled to be completed by October 29, 2021. County Road 315 resurfacing projects. The RFQ documents for professional engineering services need to be completed. Complete the design are currently underway, and we will plan to advertise as soon as finalized. Cell 4A construction at the sanitation. Cell 4A construction continues to move forward. The south side leachate connection is finally complete. The electrical on Cow Bay Road is nearing completion. The liner is arriving and will start getting put into place soon as the subgrade is ready. The completion date is looking to mid-October due to the rain that we have had since the 1st of June. That concludes my project updates.
Thank you, Julianne. Any questions for Julianne? Did y'all get that out there? Were y'all taking notes of everything that's going on in the county? Good.
Sounds to me like all the equipment's in District 1 and all the roads are being paved in District 5.
Well, there you go. There you go. That's your opinion. You're welcome to.
We appreciate
All right,
it.
so thank you, Julianne, for that. We are going to recess our Board of County Commission meeting and go into our solid waste meeting that had a time certain of 9:10. Do we have the other, doesn't look like we have the other people that are supposed to be with us today.
Sir, I believe they've been notified, and, but you do have a quorum with the 5 of you that are here.
We do.
I know Mayor Myers is out of town, so.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna start our solid waste collection and disposal district public hearing. Gentlemen, the first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes that were stated in your agenda.
Move approval.
Proper motion by Commissioner Turner. Do we have a second on the minutes? Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Adamsack. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. The next item is a review and approval of the special assessment role required for implementation of the solid waste rate resolution. Who's taking that one? Mr. Suggs?
Ann?
Okay, Ms. Julianne?
Yes, sir. So by county ordinance, the board was required to establish the special assessment fees, which you did at the July 27th and just approved those board minutes. Now, the board is required to motion to accept and approve the special assessment role for implementation of those solid waste resolution fees.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Julianne concerning this? This is a public hearing, so we'll open up to the public. Is there any comments in favor of this resolution? Any comments opposing this resolution? And we'll close our public hearing section of that. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion that we approve it.
Proper motion by Commissioner Rawls to
I'll
approve the
second
rates
that.
as stated. Second by Commissioner Turner. Any further discussion on that?
Under questions.
Question, Mr. Rawls.
Year over year, looking at the 28,667, is there any?
I don't think your microphone's on, sir.
Huh?
Your microphone?
It's on.
Okay, I didn't hear it. Go ahead.
I guess I'm only talking to the microphone then. So year over year, can you tell us what last year's number was? The total for Putnam County, it says, I guess including the Hastings Drainage District, is 28,667. Is that number up or down?
It's up minorly in a nominal amount. I didn't bring those numbers. I didn't know you were going to want last year's, but I can
I
send
just,
them.
this is, I mean, it's unrelated, but I think it's an easy way, you know, the census shows that we lost 1,000 people. I'd like to see what that number is,
I'll send it to you.
but if you could, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Mr. Adamsack, you have the floor.
Yeah, just like when we reviewed this, I just don't think we're doing enough for the citizens with lowering it by $15. I think we're carrying a heavier reserve in this fund than we need. Thank you, Julianne, for getting me additional information on what some of that money is set aside for, so that I am a little bit lighter on that, but I still think we could have done better for the community, and I will be a no vote on this.
Just to be clear, Commissioner, this is not related to the fee. This is related to the roll that's prepared by the property appraiser's office.
Yeah, which ends up being the fee.
Correct. All right, any further discussion? Chair will entertain a motion.
I think there's a
I thought
motion
everybody
and
had
a
it.
second
Oh, we
already.
We do. I'm sorry, we already do. Thank you, Commissioner Turner. Takes all of us working together. All right, everybody in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and this resolution will move forward. We will end our solid waste collection disposal district meeting and go back to our Board of County Commission. We'll reconvene our Board of County Commission meeting, and the next item on the agenda is the proclamation for Patriot Day, a day of service, prayer, and remembrance. Who's got that? Mr. Suggs, do you got that?
I can, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. I did not prepare for this morning on that particular agenda item, but
we certainly can do it. Mr. Grimes is at the hospital this morning dealing with an issue, so we'll,
We're all going to read a portion.
well, that's at the,
Well, why don't you just give us an explanation? I'll
what,
get one of the board.
I will. Julianne was
Well,
just
will you read
reminding
the
me about the
proclamation?
proclamation. And this is the proclamation that's read every year at the 9/11 ceremony. This is the day of remembrance for Patriot Day. So there's a resolution in your packet that we'd like to pass this morning. And I'll be more than happy if you'd like for it to read in the record this morning. But this is the proclamation that will be read on Saturday, September 11th, at the annual remembrance here in front of the county complex.
Thank you, Mr. Suggs. I've asked Mr. Rawls, since he was a firefighter before in his previous life, to go ahead and read the proclamation, and then we'll adopt that.
I get all the long proclamations. So whereas on September 11th, 2001, the American people endured with courage and heroism the worst attack on U.S. soil in the nation's history, and whereas in response to this tragedy, Americans across the country came together in a remarkable spirit of patriotism and unity and carried out countless acts of kindness, generosity, and compassion. And whereas community organizations and family members of the 9/11 victims began observing the anniversary of September 11th as a charitable service day to honor the memory of those who were lost and those who united in response to the tragedy, including law enforcement officers, first responders, and volunteers. And whereas Putnam County has many brave men and women serving in the county who historically tirelessly, courageously put their own well-being at risk in difficult, stressful, and often dangerous situations, and whereas the Awakening American Alliance, Cry Out America, has called people to gather for prayer, our historic leaders have called for periods of prayer for our nation and for God has called his people and our nation, and God has called his people to observe solemn assemblies for generations. And whereas a solemn assembly in a day of restraint where religious and political leaders gather in a serious nature to bring their petitions in prayer to God, and where God has promised in the Bible in 2 Corinthians 7:14-15, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin. I will heal their land. Now mine eyes shall be open, my ears attend unto the prayer that is made in this place. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Putnam County Commission that September 11th is hereby recognized as Patriots' Day and a day of prayer and service and remembrance for the victims of the terrorist attack on September 11th, 2001 in Putnam County, and its citizens are called upon to honor the lives and memories of those lost through a participation in community service, remembrance ceremonies on this day and throughout the year. Be it further proclaimed that the citizens of Putnam County are urged to show their support and appreciation for our local heroes, including law enforcement officers, firefighters, paramedics, first responders, volunteers of Putnam County, who give themselves to protect and serve their communities. Thus proclaimed the 24th day of August 2021. Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
Second.
Got a proper second by Commissioner Adamsack, was that?
Yes.
Any further discussion? There will be a ceremony that day. Mr. Suggs, do you want to elaborate on that real quick?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize, sir, for stumbling a little bit earlier. But yes, sir, this is I've been here now in this committee for 7 years, and it's every year there's the remembrance is done out in front of the county administration building. It's a wonderful remembrance for a time in our history that was very difficult for a lot of, especially folks like Jeff, Commissioner Rawls, who's a former firefighter, and those that serve in public service. And I would just encourage the community to come out on that day because it's a joint venture between the city of Palatka and Putnam County with the event, the folks from the American Legion and other municipalities and leaders, and and then you five that do the reading of the proclamation. I just think it's one of those opportunities for people to understand what we are about and and what this country's about and the love that we share for this country. So it's an opportunity for those to come out on the 11th, and we would certainly welcome them.
Thank you, Mr. Suggs. All in favor of the proclamation, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, the ayes have it. Do want to stop and take a moment before we get too much further. We have the Honorable Tim Parker, our property appraiser, in the audience today. Thanks for being with us. And the Honorable Gator Deloach, our sheriff, is with us today. And also today we have a special time happy anniversary to Mr. Suggs. Today is the day that you were hired a few years back, right? To join as our county administrator, and we greatly appreciate your service to this county.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next item on our agenda, presentation by our beloved Rover Boys Ranch, Mr. Eric Bryant. And I met Mr. Bryant at the Farm Share program, and what a ball of energy this young man is. So I don't think he's ever not met a friend in life. So.
Good morning, esteemed commissioners and officials.
You're going to have to speak right into that microphone.
Good morning,
There you
official.
go. There you go.
Esteemed commissioners and officials. I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank Commissioner Harvey for giving us the opportunity to present before the board. And I'm sorry, actually, being a PR person, I don't kind of really stumble with stuff, but I was kind of caught a little bit by surprise. But we thank you for the opportunity to just come up and present Roadheaver Boys Ranch afresh and anew. Again, my name is Eric Bryant. I'm one of the marketing people at Roadheaver's Boys Ranch, and with me is, well, actually there's several people that are with me, but actually to present before you is the CEO and Executive Director, Brad Hall. And without further delay, as the communications person here, we're just kind of stumbling through our words. I'd like to present Brad Hall, and if allowed, we created a limited edition specialized Roadheaver Boys Ranch Cup for each one of the commissioners, and if possible, I would like to present this just before we get presented.
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad Hall.
All right, so Eric, he's kind of the marketer behind the keyboard. He doesn't like to do public speeches, so I told him, I said, you've got to at least say hello to him and get up there and say something. So, but we do want to just come this morning very quickly. This is not going to take long, but we just wanted to say thank you to the Board of County Commissioners and all the county for the continued support of our ministry. You know, this is a time of great challenge in our nation, in our community. And there's a lot of negative things you guys are dealing with, so I just wanted to come and just share something positive with you, that for 71 years in Putnam County, Roadheaver Boys Ranch has existed to provide spiritual, educational, and vocational training for deserving and at-risk and needy boys, and we're still doing that. There's been kind of a leadership transition over the last couple of years as I came in during the retirement of Ken Johnson to become the executive director. Several of the leaders there for 20 plus years retired. And so it's kind of a new day at the Boys Ranch. And we're facing a lot of new challenges, just like the county are facing challenges as well. And so we just wanted to come and just say thank you, because there's 800 acres of good going on in Putnam County. And, you know, we are a licensed short-term residential home for boys that's 100% donor supported. We don't get state funding. We don't get federal funding, primarily because we're a Christian ministry. That's what we were founded to be and how we exist. But even as a Christian ministry that's supported by a lot of churches and individuals, we couldn't do what we do without the support of our community and our county. A lot of businesses support us. There's many in this room today that have served on our board of directors and helped us throughout the years. And so it's something that we're very proud of. Currently, we have 20 boys who are in the program. We also have a staff of 28, and so there's staff kids as well. So we are actually licensed to hold up to 50 boys, and so we're a little less than half capacity right now. One thing that we could use your help with is to remind people that there is a ministry called the Roadheaver Boys Ranch that exists in Putnam County to help needy families. And so what we're looking for are boys who need our services. We just basically say we're looking for at-risk boys. And what that means is they come a lot of times from situations where a family is in crisis. And so it could be the loss of a parent, it could be a divorce, It could be just poverty or a situation where a child is disadvantaged and they need a place to thrive. They need a place of security. They need a place of significance where they can develop and become the kind of young men that we need in this community. And I think all of you will agree that we need good young men in this community. And so building boys in the pattern of Christian men is our mission. I have 3 men with me today that are Christian men, that these are the kind of men that we hire that have the ability to mentor these boys, come alongside them, do chores, do work, do school, do life, and just teach them what it means to be a responsible young man. And we're proud that we do see many of these boys that go on to do some great things. And so we're just here today to say that we want to continue to be a vital part of Putnam County and this community. I want to remind you all that we also are a part of this economy. We host 2 of the largest bluegrass festivals in the southeastern United States at the Roadheaver Boys Ranch. We hope to be able to do one in November. We weren't able to host any last year because of COVID. We also have the 2nd largest bass tournament that is an amateur bass tournament on the St. Johns River. We were the 2nd largest, right behind the Wolfson's tournament. And so we bring a lot to the community as well, because not only are we gaining support for the Boys Ranch, but we also are promoting Putnam County and the benefits of this beautiful place that God has given us. And so I just wanted to say thank you, and just keep us in mind, and we're going to be praying for you all as you continue to remember us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? Appreciate y'all coming today, and we really do. And
Speak up.
I'd like to make a
I'm
comment.
sorry, Mr. Adams.
So I appreciate everything you guys are doing out there. We've been talking a lot about, drug evasion programs and people that are, have mental problems, things like that, and how we can work on that. What you guys are doing, if you help these 20 kids, and let's say you're only successful at half, and I think your numbers are even better than that, that takes millions of dollars out of our economy trying to help those beyond just the Christian aspect of what you do, which I appreciate to no end. It takes millions of dollars out of our economy to try to get those, just like your thing's motto says, do the boys right, and you're not mending men. Mending men costs millions of dollars each per person for the economy, so you're doing more than just having events for our economy. You're saving our economy from having people coming into it that aren't prepared for life. So I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Are there any other questions?
No.
I did want to just share, some people confuse what we do and they think we're a foster care home or something like that. We're really in the foster care prevention business. And what I mean by that is there's families that go through hard times. They just need a place for their boys to go for a year or so while they get their life together, and they don't want to put their kids into state custody. And so we operate on parent-child contracts, and they're able to place their children with us. And we have a licensed counselor as well on staff that works with the families as well as the boys, because we want to bring these families back together and see stronger families in our community. So I appreciate the support.
And you do accept donations?
Yes.
Cash, check, and also vehicles. Why don't you explain that?
Vehicle donations. Our biggest fundraiser and our biggest form of support right now is our vehicle program. So, the donation of running or non-running vehicles, RVs, boats, things like that. We have a once-a-month wholesale auction where dealers come and they buy those things that are donated to us.
And the boys get a chance to work on that, don't they?
They do. They get a chance to go over and work with our mechanic and our staff, and so.
You might be inheriting a couple
Win-win.
jet skis from close to my property soon. So
Great.
I've been
Thank
talking
you.
to my neighbor about cleaning up. So
Thank you.
thank you, Pastor. Appreciate it very much. And thank you for the work that was done. Mr. Suggs and I, when we went up to Georgia, did the barbecue cook-off. Mr. Suggs, why don't you kind of elaborate?
That was an interesting occurrence. We were in Putnam County, Georgia, a few months back doing a barbecue cook-off against their commission up there. And one of the gentlemen that walked up to the cook-off was actually Mr. Roadheaver's grandson, Colonel Roadheaver.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, I demoted him, General Roadheaver.
Yeah, I think he was
And
Brigadier
so
General.
that was a great opportunity, and it was interesting. He asked me if I was from Putnam County. I said, of course. And he said, have you heard of Roadheaver's Boys Ranch? And I said, absolutely. And I said that, you know, my wife actually serves on that board. And so it was an interesting opportunity to meet the grandson of the gentleman who started Road Heavers Boys Ranch. And I can tell you that you can see why it's so successful. And Brad, as a personal shout out to you, I just want to say thank you for once a month. My wife gets to come home in a really good mood after a Road Heavers Boys Ranch meeting, and I get to hear firsthand the great things that you guys are doing out there, you folks are doing, and thank you so much.
Thank you again. Next item on our agenda are legislative initiatives. Mr. Sam Sullivan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As it goes every year, it's time to meet with our legislators and to make some appropriation suggestions from the board. We have consulted with you already and compiled a list, and we'll bring that list to you today for consideration before we bring it up before Senator Perry and Representative Payne next Tuesday. And hopefully you'll all be able to join us on that date. The first one is a drainage project that was on our list last year. We called it the North Putnam Drainage. It's out in the BOCC area, Palmetto Point, Milliken Road. It's mostly a drainage project. Some pavement would be involved. Over the course of 3 years, which it would take to complete, it would come to a cost of around $4 million, which is what we would be asking the state for. The second project is also a drainage project. It's in the South Putnam area. It's the drainage along the St. John's Fishing Lodge Road. It's a open concrete drainage lane that needs to be rebuilt, and that would be an estimated cost of $560,000. This would be a new project that was not on our list last year. The third project is a multi-partner fire training academy. It would be opportunity for partnerships with other agencies in the community. It's quite a complex venture. We'd be acquiring a new or constructing a new facility. It would be used for fire training. It would be used for housing the main central fire response unit from Putnam County Fire Rescue. It would also provide training to I guess you could call it trade training. There's a program at the high school right now that had 7 students a couple of years ago. This year it has 25 students. It's a growing program. They would be providing training, lab training, out of the classroom training for that group as well. It would also provide training to our current firefighters and future firefighters. They're talking about constructing a those towers that they use for training. That's basically the sum of the project, and it's looking at a total cost of around $4 million, which we'd be asking from the state. The next project is also a fire rescue project. It would be the construction or the acquiring of a facility to refurbish for a fire station in West Putnam. The anticipated cost is between $1.5 to $2 million. And finally, the last project is a mental health project. Anticipated cost of around $1 million, which would be to refurbish building to establish, excuse me, I can't read my own handwriting.
Reentry, I believe.
Reentry program, thank you, Mr. Suggs, in partnership with this sheriff's office. And that would be inmates coming out and reentering into society, people who had issues with mental or substance abuse. And those are the 5 projects we have for you for consideration.
And that's next Tuesday at 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
And we'll
in
be
this room.
here together if as many commissioners can be. Any questions for Mr. Sullivan? All right, then we'll move on. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
making your presentation. Next item on our agenda is our public comments on agenda items. Is there anybody who would like to speak to us concerning the agenda items listed on our agenda? And seeing none, we'll go right to our consent agenda. Starting with Commissioner Rawls, is there any items you'd like to pull, Commissioner?
I have none.
Commissioner Pickens?
I have none.
Commissioner Adamczak?
B, D, and E.
Okay, is that C?
B like Baker,
I'm sorry.
D like dog, E like echo.
Forgot your phonetic alphabet?
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Turner?
I have none.
And I have none. So the chair will entertain a motion on items A, C, F, G, H, I, and J.
So moved.
Proper motion by Commissioner Pickens.
Second.
Proper second by Commissioner Turner. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose like sign. Item B, Mr. Adamczak.
Item B, I guess I just pulled because I just want to understand the process. I've gone to some of the MSBU meetings, and they're not very well attended by the communities that have the MSBUs, unfortunately. And I get a lot of feedback from I guess there's a few MSBUs in my district, but the main was the Interlochen Boulevard MSBU. And parts of that are really a disaster on a regular basis. And there's some things I think we probably need to step in and help with from an infrastructure standpoint. The Public Works Director and I have been out there a couple of times. It doesn't seem like we're making a lot of progress on that, but the rates seem like they're staying the same and low. And I think if we figure out a way to engage that community more, they probably would want to raise their rates to get more services, because that especially in that one specifically, because that's the one that's in my district. So I just want to understand, how do we notify people that their rates can possibly change, and then what type of time frame do we give them, or is it only those quarterly or monthly meetings that they have that opportunity? Because a lot of people in that area don't even know they're in an MSBU, to be quite honest with you.
Mr. Adamczak, may I answer that
Sure.
for you? Mr. Trox, will you come up too? Mr. Troxel, myself, and Nelda worked very hard this year on the MSBU rate structure. The problem is we missed some of the deadlines by the time we were able to whittle everything down, and COVID hit with some people, and we had some issues there. Plus, we had to get the MSBU projects out to bid, and that's on the street currently right now. So, but with that, we've gotten determination now that we can change these rates. We can build in a reserve factor that's competitive. Well, actually, yeah, and be more proactive is what I'm trying to say. Then we can give that information in a timely fashion to our property appraiser to get those on a trim notice, and we don't have to have 14 public hearings and all that stuff. We can easily make it the actual cost of doing business.
Right.
So I think that's going to survive very well. Mr. Troxel, would you kind of touch on the MSBU bidding that's going on right now? Because you raised the standard up on some of these MSBUs on the bid package. So why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, so what we did is we wanted to make sure that every road in that MSBU is getting touched at a certain points of the year. So what we did is we said, you have to do mandatory, I think it was 12, once a month. You got to touch the road and grade it. We also put in there, you got to mow the sides of the road at least 4 times a year. So that's above and beyond. Well, that's kind of the base, and then anything else above and beyond that is, it's citizen-led type thing. Hey, this one needs graded because the storm came through, or this tree needs taken out, or whatever. But we want to be sure that each of the roads in that MSBU get touched at a certain frequencies, whether it's the drainage or the roadway mowing, right-of-way mowing, or the road itself.
And I think by doing that, I think you're going to see more participation, Mr. Adamczak,
Sure.
by the public, because you're going to see more work being done. For us to be taking trees out of a right-of-way in an MSBU is unfathomable to me, because we should be mowing those right-of-ways. We shouldn't really have any trees growing up in the right-of-ways. And some of the complaints were, well, no one lives on that road, but they still pay a fee on that road. And if they want to come down from Pennsylvania or from Texas and see their property and can't access it because we don't grade it or we don't fix it, we're charging them for a service. So I think that this is going to help the new process you put in play. I'm excited to see what those bids are going to come back at. And I agree, I think with Mr. Adamczak, once we get to a true cost here, we're going to start seeing more participation in the citizens. Did that answer your question?
So for the MSPU, let's just take the one that's Interlochen Boulevard. The amount that they're raising is $57,420. What if the true cost comes in higher than that? Then what do we do?
I'm being muted again.
No, everybody.
Now then we'll have to look at the services at that point in time, but yeah.
And does the mowing include the picking up of the garbage like we attempt to do in the rest of the county before we mow?
Yes, it is in there, it's written in there as well.
Because that particular MSBU is a problem
Do you know how to read that?
with
Yes, it is.
regards to garbage on every street, everywhere.
Right.
This belongs to IT, it's never worked right.
So, all right, so basically the process is we're gonna put it out to bid for all the services you think it needs.
Correct.
We're gonna get a number, we're gonna compare it to the current number, then we go back to those MSBU people and we say, what services do you want taken out if the number's too high? Or do you wanna fund it? Now, are we able to refund, are we able, if they, let's say it ends up being, it should be $37 per household or per parcel, but this one's a pretty big one, it has 1,914 parcels. So let's say, or 1,911, I apologize. So let's say that we go back to them, and do we have the opportunity to update that during the year, or this is the only time we have to update that?
Yeah, we can't update it until next year.
Correct. But now, we'll have a little more updated, because these figures haven't changed since these things were instituted years ago.
Right.
20 years, they haven't changed.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what the problem is in this, and probably several of them, because a couple of years even have some issues.
Sure.
All of them have some issue somewhere. All right, I like the idea, I just wish we could have got to it this year, because they're in dire needs out, at least Interlochen Boulevard, and you know where I'm talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adamczak. Okay, Chair, Mr. Waldo, I'm sorry. My light's not working up here, so just
Trying to
grab my
restart the
attention when
page.
you have it.
Last night, we had a meeting in Boswick for the St. John's MSBU. I was hoping you would be there. Nilda was there to field the questions. There was a pretty vibrant conversation that was had with the few citizens that showed up. One of the members is here. I had asked him to come in and speak during public comments, but I think this is actually a more appropriate time for him to address the board since we're talking about the MSBU's. You know, their MSBU is not ever going to work if somebody can't hold the contractor accountable. And apparently the the bid that went out doesn't have any teeth in it to where we can actually hold them accountable. It's almost like we would reward them for not showing up because you can't. You can't. There's no disciplinary action that's allowed in the contract. So they can take on the whole thing, ignore St. John's River if they want for a couple months like they have in the past couple of months. And to me, it doesn't matter what their excuse is. We should have stepped in and augmented their forces a long time ago. Instead, I have to deal with the outfall, which is the folks complaining that the person doesn't show up, doesn't have material. Apparently the original MSBU was done by his father-in-law who passed away, and now they've taken over and are not providing good services. So your citizens are complaining very loudly that they're paying for services that they're not getting. And their question is, why should they continue? Because there's no guarantee that we're going to hold anybody accountable or that we're going to show up and do it ourselves. Right now, with the money that's in the MSBU, they can't even afford to clean their ditches out. So I don't know if it's a matter of increasing the fees, and they've indicated they don't want to pay any more money. They would like the roads paved, and that we don't have the money for that right now. But there's got to be something that's in the contract language that allows recourse. Otherwise, what good is a contract? You know, they're guaranteed payment, but we're not guaranteed anything. And you're saying that they have to show up at least once a month. And when I asked staff yesterday, what is the recourse so they don't, and the answer was none.
Well, they just don't get paid.
But so if I'm having to move equipment from West Putnam to Boswick, and I just don't feel like showing up, and it's not monetarily worth it to me to mobilize my equipment, because it almost sounds like that might be the problem. They're having to move their equipment from the Interlochen area and West Putnam area all the way over to Boswick. That's a long haul. So, as a contractor, I could see where, if you're not going to pay me, no big deal. I just won't show up anyway. So just don't pay me for that. Keep paying me for this over there. And then it allows them to take the gravy off the top, but not do the tough work. And in the end, the citizens are paying for this.
I have not heard that, but that's okay.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm going to listen to it. Just-
come on up.
Yeah. Hang on, Mr. Adamczak has a question before.
So I just wanted to add to so when I spoke to
Wait, just-
J.R. Grimes about, basically when I was talking about dirt to pave and where he thought the priorities would be in my district as far as getting emergency services, this MSBU was his biggest concern for my district, because they literally are having problems getting ambulances. and fire trucks and stuff back in there. And there was a fire back in there a couple years ago. And they obviously, it is a community that does utilize ambulance services a lot. So that's another concern. So I guess my question to the board would be, if it comes back where it's substantially more, how can we bring that to the board temporarily to try to fund that for this year so that we can make sure we can maintain access to that community? And maybe it's another MSBU as well, if it comes up really far short. And how does that happen if, let's say it comes back and it's 3 times as much and the people don't want to pay it? Can they opt out of the MSBU at that point? I mean, these are the things that I think we need to start talking about a little bit. So they can never opt out of the MSBU.
No,
So,
No, we would,
Mr. Commando can tell you that point blank.
yeah.
This board
And
can,
I don't think we'd want them to either.
no, this board can do what we want to do at that point if it's, but,
are you doing individuals dropping
but I
out?
want to talk to Mr. Troxel just.
No, I'm talking about the whole community.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying.
And the problem with that one, let me say this, for 20-some odd years, they pushed this sand around out there.
Sure.
And you and I both know, if you've been out there on those roads, which you have with Mr. Troxel, that stuff ain't worth anything anymore.
Right.
It's gone. And in some cases, they're picking it up and hauling it away because it has no value anymore. The dirt doesn't. So it's not dirt, it's just pure sand that's never going to hold again.
Right. And I
Unless
guess
it's, yeah.
I have one last question. So
sir.
in the MSBU, that includes the ditches and the drainage, or part of it? Because that one has that unique area where we seem to engage to maintain
Probably depends, don't it?
part of it.
Yeah, they depend upon the contract, which
Correct.
one has,
Okay.
I don't think they're all standard right now. They can be going forward.
But that's what we're attempting to do, correct?
Right, exactly.
Right, that's what it is.
Yes.
That's what we have.
Because we identified where one of the main pinch points is there's basically trees in the drainage that goes all the way to the lake that basically drains that whole front section
Sure.
coming out for Lady Slipper.
Yep, I know
That
exactly.
backs everything up all the way to 20. Well, obviously not to 20 because it comes down like a cliff.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
thank
you're
you.
right. And the other problem is the developers sold all that property, and we're trying to hold on to some of those in the MSBU for drainage, but that water's trying to get to the lakes or the ponds, and it's got no place to go. So but I can tell you it's better. But I want to answer one question before you move forward. You asked if there was alternatives, and I'm working on those. I'm not going to, I have some pen to paper. I have some in your area too. So if that time comes and we have that discussion, I think there is a solution that we can go to. And it might be that we go to every other month. That might be fine. Some areas only get graded once every 3 months or 2 months. That's fine. But it's got to be a standard. And I want to hear from this gentleman now, so go right ahead.
While he's coming up there, Mr. Chairman, if I might just say that while y'all are looking at this, you might also want to try to have a meeting with the MSBU committee or whatever in that district, because some people are willing to pay more money for a higher level of service. That's the reason why every MSBU isn't built the same in every MSBU in the county, because some people have agreed to pay more to have a higher level of service. Some of them have agreed to pave certain roads.
That's right.
Some of them have agreed to include mowing and drainage and what have you, so they pay a little more. I think that the biggest problem that I'm seeing with MSBU's at this point is that there was no avenue originally to have a nominal every year increase, and some of these MSBU's have been in place for 20 years now.
Right.
Nobody can convince me that you can still do business at the same rate that it cost 20
Amen.
years ago. Hell, you can't do it what it cost last year.
Right.
Much less 20 years ago. And so, I think that's been our biggest problem, is that there wasn't an avenue built in to make these go up automatically to CPI or whatever it may be. And so that's probably what needs to be built in at some point. And like you said, if we're going to standardize things across the board, it's going to take some meetings with the different the different MSBU's, because some of them never intended in the first place to have all that done. They just wanted some grading done, or they didn't want the level of service of dirt to pave or whatever. So, that's going to have to be determined from the original also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Sir, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Bill Thompson. I'm the MSBU chairman for St. John's Harbor Unit 3, MSBU. And, you know, our contractor has not shown up since June. With the rains, our roads are just, you know, you could probably drive through the ditch and not even know you've left the road. So, you know, we've got some real problems out there. We understand, you know, there's been COVID, he's been sick. One of our concerns is there's no alternative or emergency implementation plan. There's no penalty for non-performance. You know, we're stuck out there with, you know, at the mercy going, you know, well, what do we do? We called Mr. Rawls, and he did come out, talk to us, but we've been talking this, I've been here since 2002 in that location, and I was actually the MSB coordinator in the early 2000s. So I'm more familiar with the MSBU than, you know, a lot of other people. Fortunately for me, I got a better offer and went back to the defense industry for a whole lot more money. But we have been talking for 20 years about dirt to pavement, with no clear answers of, you know, and depending on who you talk to this week and next week about what are the rules and regulations governing MSBU, Better Place Plan money, you get a different answer, you know, every time it's discussed. But I just wanted to come here and get on record. I do intend to come to the transportation meeting this afternoon, and we can get into this more detail. But right now, contract performance out there is very lacking, for lack of a better word. So with that, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Appreciate your comments on that. Mr.
If I could-
Rawls?
So what he's alluding to is that there has been promises made by past commissions, and it's almost like, you know, I'm getting the brunt end of it. We're the current commission, so it stops on our watch. But they've been told, they've been promised, they've been told, they've been promised that pavement's been coming for the past 15 plus years. And at one point when I first got elected, there was massive confusion about whether or not a non-returned ballot on whether or not to vote to go paved on MSBU is a yes. So if you send out the request, and so remember that fiasco.
Yeah.
So they were told if they get 50% plus one, and if anybody not returning a letter counts as a yes vote in favor of paving, and then we switched attorneys, we switched opinions. So, you know, Mr. Thompson has been at this a lot longer than I have. When I attended the meeting when we discussed that, and there was a lot more meeting, a lot more people, and a lot more frustration. But they're really starting now to demand answers out of this government that they pay for. This is our problem. We need to deal with it. It's really not a problem they should have to deal with.
Mr. Turner?
Yeah, I think what it was it was very frustrating for us to send letters out for an MSBU when they had asked for that, to form an MSBU. And we'd get, if there was 100 residents, we'd get the 10 people that wanted an MSBU send a letter back in, and the rest of them either didn't care or they were against it, so they wouldn't turn it in as a yes vote. So yes, we said, all right, well, let's see if we can trade this around. And let's see, if you don't turn in a no vote, we're going to count it as a yes. It wasn't just the lawyer we have now. It was also the two previous lawyers said, you can't do that. That ain't legal. They've got to vote yes if you're going to do an MSBU. So it wasn't like we didn't want to leave it like it was. It's that we didn't have that opportunity to leave it like it was. And so if the people in that area, not just their area, but any area, any MSBU wants to pave their roads, then this commissioner has no problem whatsoever in finding out what it'll cost to pave the roads and then sending them a letter and saying, do you want to increase your MSBU to that amount, and we'll pave your road, loan the money, and pay it back over a period of time on this deal. The problem that, and it may not be an issue on every single one, but every one that I've dealt with personally, it's all fine right up to the point to where they have to pay an extra $80 a month to have the road paved. And then they say, ooh, I thought it might be like $5 a month. No, it's $80 a month. That's what it would cost. And then everybody quits. Everybody doesn't want to do it anymore. I could name some of them. Some that we tried to get MSBU's in. One of them we went after 3 times trying to get it in out of Myrtlewood Point. You know, and just everybody's all gung-ho when it's not going to cost but $5 a month. But when they find out that it's going to be a lot more than that, then they decide, well, maybe that dirt road isn't so bad after all. And so, you know, and the one out there off of Old Samatia Road where we tried, and it was going to be, I think, $37,000 a lot spread over a 10-year period. No, they decided the dirt road they had was just fine. You know, so, you know, it's all easy to talk about this, but when it comes right down to it, an MSBU, you're allowed to pay whatever level of service that you want to pay for. So if they want to triple or quadruple their amount they're paying every month on MSBU payments, then fine, I have no problem going in there and paving the road. But it's not, I don't think it's any more fair than what y'all talk about on the East Plaquemine Water and Sewer. Every time the subject comes up, y'all say that somebody in Interlochen shouldn't be using tax money for something over here. Same thing. I don't think anybody in San Mateo should pay for anybody in anybody's road out in Interlochen because you want it paved. So if it's an MSBU and you want it paved, then fine, let's move it forward. Ask the people, are they willing to pay more? If they are, then I'll wholly support it, 100%, at whatever level of service they want to do it at. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
Well, you know, one of the unique problems they have in Bostwick, and I'm sure this is nowhere else in Putnam County, is you have out-of-state investors that have purchased property. I say that sarcastically, obviously. And they're, a lot of times, they're the holdouts. And you know, I think we really need to sit down, you know, at a town hall meeting. Commissioner Harvey, you were there. There was comments made to the citizens of things that we're going to do, and you know, here we are months later, and their frustration has risen to the level of not only they not being serviced, but they haven't heard back from us since that meeting, and things that were said at the meeting, they don't know where we are right now, so they're now looking for answers.
Well, I think,
Mr. Adamzak?
sorry, go ahead.
So just for an example, so if we have an MSBU and the rates, it's $30 a month, or is it $30 a year? So
A year.
a year, so it's $30 a year, not monthly. Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that because that would change my thoughts completely if everyone, that MSBU is paying $360 a year. I think that would be insane. Then they should probably get paid. So to change the rate, that requires what?
They have to agree.
No. What do you mean for
For the
us?
MSBU rate,
For
the
the
yearly
current,
rate.
the current product they're under right now? Is that what you're asking about?
Yes.
Okay, that's going to change. We have to meet certain statutory timeframes that we didn't get to meet this year, and we will be able to meet it next year with a proposed budget. All the MSBU coordinators will be looking at that and then coming back to the board with a hard cost of what it takes to do business, not a projected cost. Now, the MSBU in that area could modify, well, I don't want to put words in Julianne's mouth, but you know, there could be some value engineering if the prices come back too high. I think we're going to have to wait and see what happens after the bid gets open. And I would encourage y'all, right now there is a bid on the street. We have to be a little careful because people are watching this board meeting right now, and you know, let's not put too much out there that we confuse the issue. I know, and I apologize, but there is a bid on the street.
God forbid they look at our agenda package.
Right, I mean, come on.
It's not about the agenda packet, it's about our comments that we're
Okay.
making that could lead to, we could be hurting the citizens by having a higher price, by saying, you know, somebody's got to drive all the way to Bostwick. Well, if I'm going to do that, I'm charging more. And I'm just saying, we don't know that. We don't need to be out there doing that.
I would hope the contractor's figuring that into his bid.
I know. Mr., you done, Mr. Adams? Mr. Turner?
I think that a lot of this is two different issues. One of them is the money side of it. The other thing is we got a contractor who's not performing. I think we need to figure out a way, if we've got a contractor that's not performing, we need to find out why, number one. If he's not performing because everybody's got COVID and half his family and his crew's out and all like that, maybe we should show a little compassion. I'm just telling you, those are the times we live in. I can't get anybody to show up to my construction jobs right now on time. Pick a trade, I don't care. You can't get them to show up at a certain time on a certain day. They make promises, they can't hold up, half the crew's out on sick leave. So I get it. But if it's the issue, like Commissioner Rawls said, that it's a money issue and they don't want to haul their equipment out there because it's inconvenient for them and they don't make as much when they do, and that's the issue, fire their ass. Fire them. I'm sorry, just get rid of them. Go hire somebody else. Find out how to get out of the contract because they didn't perform, and go hire somebody else. They're not the only people in the world I don't care who it is. They're not the only people in the world that do this kind of work. So if they're not performing for a reason because they don't want to do it anymore, then they'll probably tell you, I can't go do that anymore. I didn't bid it high enough. Whatever the case may be, get rid of them. Because otherwise you're going to just ride out the rest of this year and the residents are going to pay for it. So that's my 2 cents. I think we need to just find out what's going on. Is it medical stuff? Because it's happening in today's world.
It's happening.
Or is it that they just don't want to do it anymore? Most of the time they'll tell you the truth. If they hadn't been there since June, it's one of those 2 issues. They either can't get help, they got medical stuff, or they just don't want to do it anymore, so they've decided they've got 2 contracts, they make more on this contract. I'm not going to do that one anymore. If they fire me, so be it. Okay, let's fire them. Let's ask them for their resignation, whatever we need to do to get the services that even though we're not paying them, we're needing the services. So maybe that's the route we need to go, is just find out and try to deal with it instead of letting it go on until it's time for a new contract. That'd be what I had to say, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Rawls.
I had a question. You said that we missed a timeline, a notification timeline. What is that about?
It's really under property appraiser, Mr. Parker, and gentleman's not here right now to answer that. Can y'all?
How does it affect the citizens? And what is?
There's certain legal steps by statute we have to inform people by, and we have to get our stuff done by. For Mr. Parker to put it on that proposed number on the trim notice that y'all received yesterday or over the weekend in the mail. So we didn't meet that. And there was a few reasons we didn't meet it. And one, because we were working on the bid packet, and number 2, we were working on the hard cost of what it takes to do business inside that with a reserve that's adequate. So it took a few months to get through that, and some people were out sick with COVID.
How does this affect the citizens? That's my.
Let's just say going forward, let's pick out just Lakeside Hills.
Ours is
Lakeside Oaks.
$16,000.
Okay, let's just say Lakeside Oaks. Going forward, let's say that Lakeside Oaks, it's going to cost them $30,000 a year with a reserve, and to do the work that's required, divide that by that many lots. That's going to be your new rate next year. Okay, then we'll give those rates to Mr. Parker. He can plug those in on the trim notice because they're already on that notice anyway.
What happens right now?
What happens right now, we're bidding out it's on the bids on the street
Right.
for the prices that they're paying right now.
So there cannot be an increase.
Not this year.
That's what I was afraid you're going to say. In my next one, I wrote materials are up and equipment costs are up. Equipment costs are up tremendously. We're talking 35% higher. And when I was talking to the citizens, they said that the gentleman that does the grading leases his equipment, which is a great strategic move when you're in business. Don't own it when you can lease it, trade in every 3 years. That means his costs are up. So if we're going to tell them they can't be any higher than this, are we going to make up the difference if they come in higher, or what? Where does it leave the citizens?
I think it's going to be, some of these, let me say, And I appreciate, Mr. Thompson, you being there from the beginning. I was too, out in Larkin Lake Estates, and when I was just a citizen out there. Some of these have tremendous cash reserves built up, so don't think they don't. I don't know about yours.
How much is yours? I don't think you guys don't have a lot of reserves.
I haven't dissected all of them, but some of them do. So some of them actually could stop charging people for a few years based on their, so we got to get, everything's got to start getting back to normal. Because Mr. Amzak, you mentioned before sometimes that you felt like some of the reserves were too high and we should be giving that back. I know of one right now, you can probably grade it, mow it, do everything for a couple of years and never charge the people a dime. Because they just got a lot of reserves. They haven't done anything. They haven't had a need to do a whole lot. So some of these maybe were overcharged, some were undercharged. I think the numbers will flush themselves out. I do think competition's coming in this year, so more people want to bid on them. We'll just have to see how that works. You done?
I just wonder if we should just continue this conversation this afternoon at the workshop. They're obviously planning.
Well, we got a big workshop today, so we're going to continue, but right now the bids are on the street. So until that happens, I think that's when we have that conversation, when we see, when do those bids come in? When do the bids come in? Not what I just said.
I believe they're due in end of this month or September 13th.
They went out last week.
It's going to be very, very soon because
9/17.
when?
September 17th.
17th of
September
September.
17th.
Yeah, but then we have a very small window because I think they end on the 30th of
The current contractor.
the current contract ends. So
How do
we're
we
going to have to
stop
get,
this from happening where we come up short?
it's going to stop this year.
I've been hearing that for 3 years.
You can count on it this year, trust me. Okay, Mr. Turner, you had your light on, then Mr.
I think
Pickens.
Mr. Pickens was next.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, Chairman Harvey. I agree with everything that's been said up here, especially with Mr. Turner, that it sounds like it is two problems. One is the monetary side of it, and it looks like that will be addressed soon. Is that correct, Mike? That's going to be addressed moving forward of how we can get the estimates and then raise the fees on?
Yeah, because what we'll do is we'll have a new line, it's basically a line item cost, okay? Then we'll go to the MSBU's and say, this is this line item cost, what's the services you want going forward? And then that's going to be their new trim notice next year, based on what they want, based on the line item cost that we get for these services.
So you're saying a year down the road, so
It'd be a year down the road.
within this year, we
Mr.
gotta
Rawls,
figure
hang
that
on,
out.
Mr. Pickens has.
Yes, sir. It's about a year down the road, but that will get taken care of. And the second one, and I'm not going to say it exactly like Commissioner Turner, because nobody can say it exactly like Commissioner Turner, but it sounds like this gentleman over here is a performance problem. They're paying and they have paid, so there's got to be some accountability with the contractor to perform what he's supposed to do on a timely matter. Now, grant you understand equipment breakdowns and health issues. Everybody in this room that has anything to do with business is having employee problems probably. So you have that also. But did they report back to the county and then to the MSBU boards when they are going to, I guess they have a schedule, and then that they have completed, like we grade once a month, and we do that, we send a report out every month or every quarter, and then do y'all get the same report? So, and then how do you enforce penalties or whatever if they're not going to perform? What's the check for that?
Currently, I don't believe any of them have a schedule. It's basically, from what I understand, no, Mr. Harvey, correct me if I'm wrong here, but when the citizens ask for a service, they come provide that service. Now, should there be a timeline associated with that service? Probably. There needs to be within a week of getting a call. They need to be out there to do something. But that's that would be that level of service that we need to put in there.
I'm definitely in agreement. If they're not, then there'd be penalties or just get rid of them and find somebody else. So, okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Turner.
Yes, I'd like to add to my previous comments. There needs to be a penalty other than just firing them. Excuse me. If somebody fails to perform in their contract, whatever that contract is, and I understand if there's an issue such as health or whatever, but if somebody decides to perform in one contract, but the other one's not profitable enough for them, so they're not going to perform in the second contract, those people need to be put on a blacklist. where they can't bid any Putnam County work for a period of 3 years. Period. Debarred, exactly. So if you're not going to fulfill your contract, then it's ludicrous for us to continue giving them contracts to not fulfill. So this commissioner believes that that's where the direction we need to go. If somebody's not performing, let's find out why. If it's because of COVID, employees, something, whatever, that the world's having the supply issues, whatever that is, you need to make your best judgment call on that. But if they're not doing it just because they deemed it wasn't as positive a contract as what they had deemed it to be when they took the contract, and there's more than one of them here, or that's their only contract, we need to debar them. That needs to be, they can't just continue getting contracts that they're not going to perform on. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you. Mr. Adams.
So I'm just going to say, this conversation, I think, has been very beneficial to me anyway. So hopefully it has been to the community and to the rest of the commissioners. I'm going to vote no on this simply because I think we, again, didn't meet our responsibility to the community to be prepared to have the right numbers.
You're asking us to stop all MSBU's in the county? I'm sorry, I'm just asking.
At some point, we have to be able to successfully achieve having the information needed for everyone, for the community, for the MSBU's, for the citizens, where we can make the decisions that actually do right by the community and do right by the citizens. And the only means that I have to stand up and say that is by making votes. And that's how I choose to do it. You can choose to do it however you'd like, but the people in this MSBU and the ones in my area are being underserved because they don't have a good estimation of what it truly could cost to maintain their MSBU. And that I have to represent the people, and that's what I'm here for. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Turner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what are the ramifications if we all vote no on this today? Basically, the MSBU's don't get to pay anything in this year?
I think we just need to take a vote.
No, I'm just asking.
Well, I know what you're saying.
There's a difference between voting no and voting no to obstruct and impede the progress of the county. There's a difference. So I'm just asking what.
The county could not afford to take over all these dirt roads, I can tell you that. Nothing would get done, and probably see grading once a year, if at best, if we dumped all these MSBU's into the county lap. There's just no possible way.
Okay.
So,
Mr.
okay.
Chairman, I move that we move forward with item B on the consent agenda.
We have a proper motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a proper second by Commissioner Pickens. All in favor signify by saying.
Under discussion.
Under discussion, real quick.
I feel like, the other day when I sat through the insurance committee meeting, I expressed my frustrations. I feel like we're given no information to the last minute. We're in a rush to get this passed. We can't take a breather until next week and say, let's have a special meeting on Tuesday, find out what our options are.
We are having a special meeting on Tuesday, but it's
No,
not
to
about
discuss
this.
it. I know, but what I'm saying is we're not having this, we're not saying, let's hold off on this. There's been a lot brought to light. Instead, we're going to be in a rush to pass it. And, and you just said, I promise you this will never happen again, but I've been promised this will never happen again on several other contracts that has happened again, and I don't know how to stop this. We just rush up to the very end, and then we have got to get this done because, by God, October 1st is a new budget year, and we have to have this resolved within a month. I just don't understand it. And I don't want to penalize the taxpayers at the same time. It sounds to me like, based on what Mr. Chalks was saying, is we're going to pass this at the stipulated rate. The taxpayers aren't going to see an increase. But what they more than likely will see is a decrease in services, which is the net effect is you're seeing an increase in the cost. You're getting less for more. And I just don't know how to say that politely. I think this is crap. I think that we need to start holding our staff accountable for getting us the information ahead of time, not coming up to the last minute. Yeah. You can blame everything you want on COVID. We have been struggling, and I go back to my first week when I asked for that spreadsheet all contracts, start dates, end
Okay,
dates. so we
Mr.
can
Rawls,
take a
we're going
look
to
at
be,
when
we're
things are
talking
coming
about this
up.
motion only.
I understand that,
right
but
now.
this is the same, it's
It's
the
not
same
the same, and it's
conversation.
not
It
gonna
is.
be the
We're
same.
coming up at the last minute,
Okay.
again, and we can't get this under control.
All right, thank you for your comments. Mr. Adamczak, discussion on the motion only.
So the problem really, to have a meeting next week is still too late. So this should have been started, again, last year around the same time, and it should be an ongoing conversation throughout the year, whether it's quarterly or somewhere on our agenda. Maybe March would have been a better time. We could have done some of this legwork. We could have been aware that the legwork wasn't getting completed for whatever reason, whether it was COVID or whatever, but we need to start doing better, and whatever that entails, it needs to happen. I guess that's all I'm gonna say again.
Thank you, and I want to say this, I think one person who handles this does a fantastic job. I think the citizens committees do a fantastic job, and you know what your costs are. You know that better than we do. All the citizens committee know that. So, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Thank you, 4-1. Thank you, Mr. Troxel. Appreciate it. We're going to take a 2-minute break. Reconvene our Board of County Commission meeting. It is 10:21. Mr. Adamczak, you pulled item D.
Yeah, so on item D, I really liked some of the conversation we had during the insurance committee meeting on item D. And I really just pulled this to talk about teledoc. And I just want to tell everyone from the telemedicine service fee, which is a small portion of this, that I have found in it, and I work in technology for a living, and I hate technology, which is an oxymoron in itself. But I have used this type of service, and during the conversation, it came out that it was kind of underutilized by many in the county, and I would recommend it for anything that's acute and minor, you know, obviously not for an emergency type situation. But for instance, I had a gout attack this weekend, and this stuff's, and I don't know, is ours, Benji, is ours 24 hours, or, so it's 24/7? It's 24/7. I had a gout attack. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, this Sunday. And I called into the thing, and within 30 minutes, I got a call back. And basically, they prescribed a medicine that I knew I needed because it's something that's happened repetitively. And I was able to go to the Interlochen CVS and get that first thing in the morning when they opened, and I had relief by lunchtime. You know, there was no waiting in line at a doctor's office. There was no going to the ER or MedX. So highly recommend that any employees here take advantage of that. You're paying a little bit of a fee for having that service. Try it out. You know, it goes really well. And I think we use Teledoc, correct, Benji?
Yeah.
So, and Teledoc is the group that Dell uses, which is where I have my insurance through at this time. And it's a great service. So I recommend it to anybody, and I just wanted to put that out there. And it saves money for everyone.
Thank you. Mr. Turner?
I wonder what the expense would be along those lines to try and get a flyer or something put out to the employees that actually explain this, because I don't know that everybody's aware that they can just get on their home computer and call up a doctor.
I think
Or
Sarah
do
has
whatever.
your answer.
Good morning. Excuse me. I do. So we do have a teledoc flyer that's been provided by Blue Cross or Florida Blue, but then we're also working with some local providers to actually do some tutorials that we can post on YouTube for our employees so they can see the actual steps to go through to either from their phone or their computer or tablet or something. So our employees will have just kind of an actual screenshots of how to access a teledoc.
That'd be good, I think.
And then that would, of course, not be at any charge to us. We can just send that out to our employees.
Miss Sarah, back previously, and we worked hard last year trying to get a one-pager done. Some of that stuff is low-hanging fruit on that. That would help save our premiums. And Mr. Adamczyk, you're right. You know, a one-pager, laminated, take this home, hang it on your wall, whatever, and when you need these services, this is available. And I think that would
Sure.
accomplish a lot.
We can absolutely do that.
Sure.
That's an easy fix.
Thank you.
Sure.
And appreciate your survey while you're up here.
Yeah.
You did a survey last week.
I did.
I hope everybody here took advantage of that. I was number one. Thank you very much.
Yes,
I
you
wanted
were.
to set the example on that. So, but yes, it was a, 5-question survey with little,
I think it was 8 or 9.
it
but
wasn't very many.
The telehealth was on there,
That's
and of the responses I've seen, a majority of people would be willing and interested to use the telehealth. And we're actually, one of our goals is to promote that with our employees, just as the commissioner said, is, you know, if it's first thing in the morning and you're not sure how sick you are or what's going on, use the teledoc before you come into work and then are sent home and things like that.
I just have all ideas that we have a lot of employees that don't even know that's even available to them.
Yeah, I think you're right. So it's definitely a promotional opportunity, an educational opportunity for our employees, which, in turn will help our premiums and ensure our staff have access.
All right, thank you, Ms. Sarah.
You're welcome.
One thing real quick. Sarah, while you're up there,
Mr. Ross.
I choose to use VA, and one of the things I like about it is they ask us to come in, everybody comes in every 6 months, just for a checkup and blood work. I don't know how much money that would save us if we were able to catch diseases and illnesses, in a very short period of time. So if somebody's healthy with no issues 1 month and 6 months later they pick up traces of something, they can start getting ahead of it versus somebody going in with back pain for the past 3 years and find out they had prostate cancer, something like that. So I don't know if there's been any thought given to that and encouraging employees to go on a regular basis to see their doctors and get blood work done. Once a year is great. Twice a year is even better, obviously.
Yes. So as part of the wellness initiative that I know started before COVID, and then due to that interruption, we're trying to pick it up again. That is something that we certainly want to promote is wellness visits to your provider, whether it be just for any kind of specialty care or previous history that you've had and you need follow-ups on it, because obviously having wellness checks prevents the crisis later on down the line. So that is definitely something that the wellness initiative will address and encourage.
And I think the other part is giving the employees the opportunity to take time off of work. It takes about an hour, to go in and get checked in and see the doctor and get back. But, I can tell you, at first I was resistive when they said, we'll see you in 6 months. I said, why? And he said, this is what we do. But no, I'm glad.
Yeah. The once a year or once every 6 months visits helps reduce the chance of an even longer absence down the road.
We just lost a citizen here that had that scenario I described, where they had joint pain and it ended up being, I think, stage 4 prostate cancer, and very short time to live, and he passed away. So
Yep.
I think it's important.
Yep, it is, and that's definitely on the wellness initiative agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Adams?
Yeah, I don't want to be a continued commercial for Teledoc, but
Please,
I'm gonna just add
you're
one more
helping me.
thing. So it allows you not only to do the online thing, but it does have an 800 number that you can call as well. It's very simple. If you feel like you want someone to, the callback is usually within 30 minutes, or you can schedule an appointment. That's the other advantage of it too. If you know you woke up but you have things you got to take care of, you can schedule that for 11 o'clock in the morning or
Right.
1 o'clock. It is Florida-based doctors. They do ask you what state you're in, things like that. So they can prescribe medicines. They don't do narcotics, but they can prescribe general medicines through that. Once you put your pharmacy in, it'll be in there forever. Once you put your payment method, if there is any payment that has to go to it, it's in there forever. So it's just one of those things that works. So,
Thank you.
and since we don't have the flyer out, anyone that wants to try it should as soon as possible.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion on item D.
I make a motion that we approve item D as.
Okay, we have proper motion by Commissioner Adamsack,
I'll take it.
second by Commissioner Rawls. Further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, the ayes have it. Next item, Commissioner Adamsack, item E.
So item E is a little bit different of a flavor for me because I voted no on this during the insurance committee meeting, and only because I feel like one of the other options is better for their employees. From what their costs would be, it would cost the county about $50,000 more is I think what we came up with from that. But I think the cost savings to our citizens, not our citizens, our employees, especially when we're not able to give, or it doesn't seem like we're able to provide them with raises and other things that I think we really need to do to start being a more attractive employer in this county, as well as competing against other areas of business where we have several openings open. If we make the cost of business for employees lower, I think that is to our advantage as well. If we can't do it on the pay side, if we can do a little bit on the benefit side, that would have been beneficial. And I think by choosing this plan, I think we did not achieve that.
Well, Mr. Adamsack, I think you heard the Honorable Clerk, Mr. Matt Reynolds, do a spreadsheet real quick and said that this product was beneficial to our citizens. But I understand your point. So the chair will entertain a motion on this item.
I think Commissioner Rawls has a lot on.
Commissioner Rawls?
I got an email yesterday from Benji Bates, and he said that Berkshire Hathaway does in fact have a TPA, and part of the discussion was that
We're talking right now stop loss, not
Yes.
TPAs.
right. So
So let's keep the conversation to the
if
stop
I
loss.
can finish without being interrupted.
You may, but we're
part
gonna
of
keep
part
the-
of what made
As long as you
the
stay on
stop
the
loss, according to Mr. Reynolds, lower was the fact that there was a $547 per month savings because they were the TPA. So when you join the TPA to the ASO, so it's relevant to the conversation, there's a $6,000 plus a year savings. That's when he said it looks like it works out where they're slightly better. The email from Mr. Bates says that there is a TPA potential from Berkshire Hathaway. I think we need to look into that. I think next time, the commission needs to have the full benefit of all the information, not just what's wanting to be fed to us, because The little bit of information we have, when we started digging into it, there was a more robust conversation than was obviously had by the insurance committee. So I will vote for this, but like I stated at the meeting, I feel like I'm being forced to vote with limited data. And I just don't, I don't think it's right for the citizens or for the employees of the county, when we could be looking at something that is more of a cost savings potentially, but we don't know because we didn't look into it. And now we don't have any time to. So, thank you.
Thank you. Chair, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pass item E.
Proper motion by Commissioner Turner.
I'll second.
Proper second by Commissioner Rawls. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Moving down to item number 5, codes enforcement, page 93 in your agenda. Mr. Moore, yes, you're coming up now. Good deal. Thank you. In the interest of time, why don't you just go ahead and give us a brief overview, okay?
Property owner's name is Greenhouse Group LLC. Violation was care premises. And the original fine amount was $9,968.50. Total cost of enforcement action is $1,203. Property owners recently purchased property. Property is now compliant, and the owner is requesting a fine reduction. If the board approves, we recommend the reduced fine to be paid within 90 days.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, I do have on that, I read the packet on this one too, and a long eviction. We're probably going to see quite a few of those, aren't we? As this moratorium has been lingering on and on. So it's kind of hard to get rid. Okay, commissioners, what's your pleasure? Oh, is there anybody in the audience? Is the applicant here? And seeing they're not, commissioners, what's your pleasure on this item?
I'll make the motion that we stay consistent and remove the $240 administrative monthly to reduce it down to $963 on code case 2019-00390.
Okay, we have a proper motion
I'll second that. Or did the motion include give them 90 days?
That was already in the, yes, so.
Okay.
So the price would be $963 if paid within 90 days. We have a proper second by Commissioner Turner. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Okay, moving on to the next one, Mr. Moore.
Case number 2009662. Property owner's name is Keith Rutledge. Violation, unsafe structure and care premises. Original fine amount was $103,443.50. Total cost of enforcement action is $2,487. Property owners recently purchased the property. It is now compliant, and they are requesting a fine reduction. If the board approves, we recommend the reduced fine to be paid within 90 days.
Thank you. Is the applicant here, Mr. Rutledge? Seeing he's not here, commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I make a motion that we remain consistent with all of our past ways we've handled these, reduce the fine by the administrative monthly cost for a total of $1047, due within 90 days.
Proper motion by Commissioner Rawls, second by Commissioner Turner to reduce it to $1047, pay within 90 days. I'm sorry. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving down to the next case, Mr. Moore.
Case number is 2018-299. Property owner's name is Blue Sky Contracting. Violation was unsafe structure and care premises. Original fine amount was $20,337. Total cost of enforcement action is $1,882. Property owners recently purchased property. It is now compliant, and they are requesting a fine reduction. If the board approves, we recommend the reduced fine to be paid within 90 days.
Okay, is the applicant here? And seeing they're not, board, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move on case number 2018-00299 that we take staff's recommendation and remain consistent with, by removing the administrative monthly fees for a total fine of $1,522 to be paid within 90 days.
Proper motion by Commissioner Turner,
I'll second it.
second by Commissioner Pickens. Any further discussion on the matter? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. We appreciate it, sir. Next item on our agenda, insurance fund discussion and direction. Ms. Julianne, do you have this?
Yes, sir, thank you. The insurance fund has a shortage for fiscal year '21 and a projected shortage for fiscal year '22. In your package, you were given a breakdown of estimated numbers for fiscal year '22 and actual numbers for fiscal year '21. The shortage is primarily caused by actual claims exceeding budgeted claim dollars. For fiscal year '21, the year we're currently in, the shortage is roughly $1.4 million, and the projected shortage for next year is also roughly $1.4 million. Staff is seeking direction on how to address the shortage in both fiscal years, both fiscal year '21, the one we're in, and fiscal year '22, the one we're budgeting for.
Ms. Julianne, I appreciate that. I've talked to you extensively about this.
Yes, sir.
And one of the reasons we knew that we had some high claims was COVID-related. And
Yes, sir.
with that, I've asked you if you could go back and recapture some of those CARES Act dollars that are sitting out there that have been, correct me if I say it wrong,
Okay.
allocated to different areas and not used yet, that we could possibly bring back and prove that they were COVID-related. Is that right?
Yes, sir, not to complicate the terminology that we have going, the CARES Act dollars were reimbursed for claims that were eligible during the eligible period of time. Some of those claims were dollars that we spent internally for operational expenses that we've covered elsewhere, and so some of those dollars remain to be allocated out at board direction once we do the final closeout. It is possible at the board's direction, if you would like to capture some of those and transfer them over to the insurance fund, that those dollars are there, although the technical terminology is that they were reimbursed for the eligible claim that we've already submitted for and been approved for, if you follow that train of
I
thought.
understand.
Okay.
I do. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Turner, you have the floor, sir?
Yes, sir. Let me see if I can get through this. I think that this is two different issues. I think the first issue is this year's cost overruns. This commissioner thinks that that should be on the county. The reason why is because we made the change. We went self-insured. Nobody could guess that COVID was gonna hit, and it was gonna be a terrible year with $700,000 plus dollars in COVID claims that nobody saw coming. So I think that we should pay the $1,363,928.84 for the year '21 out of general funds. Now, if we can get COVID back, or it's coming back for us for some COVID stuff that's coming at us or whatever, it's going in reserves, and we're using reserves, so you can call it covered, but it's still, one's going in and one's not, it's still just reserves. So that's why you have reserves, or for these type of situations.
Right.
So in my opinion, I think that we should just pay that for all county employees, the whole boat. Now, next year's, I think, should be a little different. And the reason why, hopefully I can communicate this well, if we hadn't self-insured, I'd about guarantee you that instead of $2,500 per employee per year, that it would have been double that. I believe it would, or maybe more. So I still think that we did the right thing this year by being self-insured. I truly believe that. Because it's costing less. I also believe that the county should not pay 100% of the upcoming year in the increases. I think that we should establish a percentage, such as the county will pay 80% of all the increases this coming year, and that 20% of the cost of the additional cost would be paid for by an employee. But I also want to propose further that we do it on a tiered system. we can't control what the sheriff's department does with his. We can't, if he wants to pass premium increases on or not or whatever. I think the Board of County Commissioners needs to pay all of the percentage, but then let's just say for purposes of this discussion, we say we're gonna pay 80%. The constitutional officers would have to decide, are they gonna pass that 20% on to their, of the additional on to their employees, or try to take it out of their budget or whatever they do. We can't control that. But on the board side of this that we do control, I think we should determine what percentage of the board employees, what percentage of that 20% left that they would have to make up. And let's say, for instance, that out of the total payroll for Putnam County on the board side, that is a certain amount. I believe it's going to be approximately 1% is what it would take to make all this up. Instead of every employee in the county paying $400 a year or thereabouts, I think that it should be done on a tiered system, to where if you make $10 an hour, that if we determine that we need 1% of total payroll to make up this difference, then that 1% should come out of everybody's on that percentage. And we may want to do it in a tiered system, like if you make from 10 to 12 or $13 an hour, you pay this much, which would be around $4.50 a week. But if you make $90,000 a year and you pay your 1%, that's $900 a year you'd pay instead of $230 a year. Now, I know that historically that we've passed it on, or when it's been passed on, that rate increases have been passed on a per person basis. This commissioner doesn't think that's fair. I don't. I think that you need, if you make $10 an hour or $23,000 a year, thereabouts, if you should pay 1% of your salary. If you make $90,000 a year, you should pay that 1% of your salary. Because I promise you that the person that makes $90,000 a year is going to miss it less than the person that makes $23,000 a year. So I know that this has never been tried before. I know that it's a new concept, but I think it's about as fair a concept as what I think I can come up with. When I talked to a friend about this, he said, well, that's just wealth distribution. Well, I say that's BS. This is trying to have compassion. This isn't anything about wealth distribution. I don't believe that for a second. I believe it's trying to be fair with the employee. And so if we need 1% of total payroll to make up this that we're going to pass, that we pass on to the employees, then I truly believe that that 1% should be paid across the board. Now, like I said, and I don't mean to pick on you, Gator, but you're the closest one to me. If the sheriff's department decided they wanted to follow suit, then a new deputy that makes 34, I'm not sure what the salary is, but 34 a year, they'd pay $340 a year. But the sheriff who makes 100 plus a year would pay 1,000 plus a year for that. Or Mr. Wells, or Colonel Wells, I think he's probably that management level pay. So they would pay a little more than everybody in between. It would be 1% of your payroll. 1% of your payroll would be passed on. That way there would be no further impact on their budget. No further impact. They wouldn't be treated any differently than all the other Board of County Commissioner employees. And the counties agreed to pay that 80% out of general revenues on our side to cover the portion of that. So I don't know if I was able to communicate that very well, but I tried. But I see if everybody followed suit, we don't have control over what the constitutionals do. But if everybody followed suit, it would be a very little percentage, and it would be no impact to their current budget because of this, because we're paying the other 80%. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and cock your gun.
No, it's an interesting concept. Mr. Rawls?
So we have a $20 million total payroll. 7% of that would be the total across the board adjustment. If we're looking at the 1.4 million, which leaves at 20%, 1.4. If we just split it at 60-40, saying that 60% are going to pay and 40% aren't, that means that it won't be 1.4% increase. It'll actually be over 2% increase. I would think that you'd be, yeah, because for every person that doesn't pay, somebody up here has to pay more. It's 1.4% if it's spread equally and undiminished. But the minute that you start saying this group doesn't pay, and I think what we're now doing is we're now starting to have that conversation about what defines poverty.
Did you take, I'm
Go ahead.
not trying
No.
to, did you take out the constitutional's employees?
I'm only
County
looking
commissioners?
at
'Cause
BOCC
we figured
right
it'd be
now.
about 1% if we just
Okay.
took the BOCC stuff.
I'm just have a conversation. I'm only looking at BOCC right now for generic conversations. What I'm saying is, you would be looking at a net increase of more than the 1%, regardless of whether you're including the constitutionals or not. And what you're now doing is you're defining a group, and we're going to say, this group is impoverished. But instead of doing what I would consider as the right thing is getting those folks up right now above $12 or $13 an hour, starting to look at what the private sector, what the state of Florida, what other people are doing right now, jumping on board with well, we have to go to 10 and then we'll get by 3%. Because from what I understand, our budget increases the payroll by 3%, but we're not giving them a pay raise. I want to go on the record as saying, I don't feel like we've given our employees a pay raise. All we've done is raise the amount of money that we'll get, but so has inflation. It's been raised, and it's going to chip away at what little bit we gave them, so that at the end of the year, their net is zero. And then on top of that, you're going to take away more by increasing the cost of insurance for them.
What's your proposal?
I don't have a proposal. I didn't come prepared
Exactly.
to discuss this because we
But-
really need to
But
be.
we're going to have to give staff direction on what to do.
I think what we need to do as a
So I
commission
think-
is what we discussed the other day, which is for us to sit down, take a
We
look
will.
at our total plan, start coming up, because right now we're discussing a policy.
Okay.
And I don't think that we should be looking at just a knee-jerk reaction. If staff has had a conversation with you or Commissioner Turner or Adamsack or Pickens, they haven't had it with me. Then this is what Commissioner Adamsack talked about the other day. I don't want to go behind closed doors. Send me everything that you want me to see. If you have a proposal, send it out. Let me look at it before this meeting. But don't come in here and say, well, let's just throw this out there and see what sticks to the wall, because once upon a time, somebody
No,
did
but
that,
this is a
and the
meeting-
constitutionals got stuck with a lower budget.
Okay, but that's
And
not
now-
what this meeting's about.
I understand that. So what I'm saying is we had the same type of conversation, and then we jumped to we're just going to go to a flat percentage, and this is how we do our budgeting from now on policy. I think this is wrong. It's a wrong form.
Okay.
If we're going to have a conversation about it, let's have it. It's not what was presented. All we have to talk about is 1.4 million this year, 1.4 million in 22, 23.
Possibly less if we can.
We'll know when the numbers come out.
But we got to give staff direction to start looking at things. So we do need to bring proposals to the table.
But I don't think that we need to burden the constitutionals and saying, oh, by the way, we've given you less money and we're going to ask you to, you either pick up the tab on it or let your employees pick up the tab. It makes them look like the bad guys.
Bring a proposal. Mr. Adamsack.
I don't mind this if it came with numbers that justified it. So if we have an opportunity to have further discussion on it and we can see what the numbers are, whether it's 1% or 1.4% or 3%, whatever it is, and exactly how that looks spread across people. If is it $100 for the lower tier employee and $1,000 for the higher tier, and however that ends up working. Is this even something we can do though? I mean, I never. It is unique. So is it something we can do, Rich? Can you do a percentage base? So I just
Believe you can.
Yeah, we do.
only because I've never.
We have discretion to do that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll have a.
I have no problem with the idea. Again, that we need to find, especially at our lower end jobs, which aren't lower end jobs, they're probably some of our hardest working physical jobs for the county. For those people that are out there doing the labor for the county and for the citizens every day, we need to find just the same reason why I didn't like the health insurance that we chose for stop loss. I like this idea for the same exact reason that I didn't like that one. So if I had more data, I could get behind it. I just don't have enough data with what we have on the one sheet that we have so far
Got it.
to do it.
Thank you. Mr. Turner, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to add, not one single time has staff reached out to me and given me any information that I didn't go and ask them about. If you don't ask, they don't know what your questions are. You can think they have all the crystal balls in the world, but they don't. So they didn't come to me and tell me about this deal. I went to her and we discussed it. And that's the same opportunity that every commissioner up here has, is to go and ask their questions instead of coming in here and saying, oh, they didn't give me any information. Go ask your questions. I don't get this. I just don't get it. They don't offer any information to me. They don't. I go ask questions and sit down and come up, and they don't come up with it would be 1%. I drill down by asking the budget officer to give me different scenarios and different ways and try to come up with solutions, not just obstruction. So I just want it to be absolutely known that nobody approached me with any additional information. I went to them and asked them for it. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Mr. Turner.
Yeah, so-
Mr. Rawls, you have the floor.
So just like they don't have a crystal ball, I don't have a crystal ball. I would have no idea that I need to go in and ask them what you just talked about. That's not the way the system works. We need to be having these conversations at a workshop so we all have benefit of all the information. It would be ludicrous for me to walk in there and say, does any of the commissioners have anything on the table that y'all are discussing with them? I don't think that would be legal. So if we're going to have a conversation about it, let's get all the information out. But my knee-jerk reaction is we've cut the constitutionals, and now we're going to ask for another cut, and then make them look like the bad guys by saying, look, it's your decision. You can cover it in your budget. But if we don't give them that extra money to cover it, then the pain is even worse for them. So I think we just need to have a long conversation, more than one page where a $198 million budget was discussed, and include this in that conversation.
Thank you,
But
Mr. Rawls.
we don't have those days. There was something mentioned a minute ago about having a special meeting next Tuesday. Is that in lieu, on top of the,
We're going to get to that in
okay,
just a moment.
okay, because I'm not aware of that either. Thank you.
Won't be about this.
All right.
Mr. Adams.
Yeah, so I think it's an idea that you brought. It's great. But I would have no way to know that you were bringing that idea, just like Commissioner Rawls said. And it's a great idea, and it's one I didn't think of, so I would have never brought it to her because I didn't think of it. So I appreciate that you brought it, and I want to support it. And I just need more information to support it. And that's all I was saying, is I need more information to support the
Thank you,
idea
Mr.
that you
Adams.
brought forth today.
Thank you. Mr. Turner.
What I was trying to do was come up with a situation that there would be no potential impact for the constitutionals.
That's right.
There would be no impact on the BOCC employees any more than what we were asking them. Now, they can do whatever they want. We can't direct them to do it. But if they did the same thing that we did with our employees, there would be no impact, because the board, the commission is going to would pay 80% of the additional monies for next year. The 20% would be figured out how much each employee in the county would be for the 1%. You're right. I can't go to you and tell you my feelings. That's a sunshine law violation. Wish we could. On a lot of times, I wish I could go sit down with Jeff across the street in his office and say, Jeff, what do you think about this idea? Why don't you help me come up with the different sides to it? Let's, Commissioner Adams Act, why don't we sit down and figure out a way to make this happen? Why don't we call Gator and get him to come over, and let's all sit down and talk about it together, or Tim or somebody, and say, hey, let's try to work out a solution that won't impact your budget, that your employees are being treated no differently, better or worse than ours are. Across the board fairness, let's try to come up with a solution. This is the only thing that I could come up with, and like I said, I wish I could go sit down with you. I do, but I can't. As you brought up, we can't. So this is my only forum, is to come in here today and try to explain to y'all this is a solution. May not like it, but if you can come up with a better one, I'm all ears. But I've thought about it ever since I found out about this, which was at the insurance meeting last week. was when I found out about this shortfall. I'm not on the subcommittee, so I didn't know about it until the full insurance committee meeting when I was told about it. So that's what I do. I try to figure out solutions and recommendations and how to move things forward, not just, let's talk about it some more. Give me some more data, give me some more. That's not what I do. Sorry, I'm just not built that way. I take whatever data is available to me, and then I go after additional data by going and asking for it, asking questions. Then I try to dissect that data in such a way that there's actually a solution that comes out of it. The only thing that I didn't mention so far that I think needs to be part of this is, I think it would be pretty difficult possibly to do every single person, 1% of every single person. You'd have to do it almost in layers maybe. And I don't know this, I haven't talked to Margie about it yet, but so let's say you make $10 to $14 an hour, you pay a certain percent, around whatever your 1% of that class is. And then if you make, and I don't know what the dollar amount should be, but if you make 14 to 16, you'd pay whatever the average dollar amount was for that group, you know, in that. And so I guess it's more than fair if you make 13 and less than fair if you make 10, but I don't know that they can do it on every individual. I don't know without asking that. So I think that if we can move forward with the concept and then ask them to come up with a plan that's closer to it to be presented back to us, if the concept works for everybody, then maybe at that point we can tweak the plan. Maybe we can get some inputs from some of the constitutionals on what they think about it as far as the extra 20%, or would they be willing to pass it on like we're going to pass it on, a percentage of theirs, which is not 20% pay decrease or 20% premium, it's 20% of the total amount, your cut of that, which should be about 1% like ours would be if we're doing our math correctly. So everybody gets a 1% pay increase, everybody's got skin in the game. Somebody that makes 23 a year pays 230, and somebody that makes 90,000 a year pays 900. I think that's fair. I just think it is. So thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Mr. Turner. Mr. Pickens?
Yeah, it would be easier a lot of times just to be able to do what you're talking about, is to just sit down and hash this out. But there's this thing called sunshine law. So this is a concept. I think we probably need to look at other issues. It may be, or suggestions. It may be, and definitely get the constitutional's input on how this will affect them. And it may be we're to the point where, we can't, fund the level of insurance premiums that we've done in the past. I mean, I don't know that the school board does it 100%. I'm not sure exactly what the percent is, but I think a lot of other agencies have had to go to that. I'm not sure what the city of Palaca does. So what kind of decision do we have to make today? I guess that's what my question. What do we have to do today?
We have to kind of give staff some direction to bring us back something else and have a future meeting to talk about that, gather information from the constitutional. I think that's what we have to do today.
Yeah, we have two impending timelines. We have open enrollment that needs to roll out as soon as possible, and obviously rates have to be established if we're going to roll out open enrollment, employer contributions. And then obviously the second is we have the current fiscal year, which needs budget immediately, and then next fiscal year, which needs to be budgeted.
Give me those dates really quick, Julianne, off the top of your head. When do we need to?
Open enrollment, Marjorie?
Okay,
So it should start September 1st.
Maybe we need to put our proposed ARPA meeting off a week and then just substitute this conversation for next week.
Sure, we can do whatever.
That might be a better fit. And then I'll move things around. We'll have that discussion up here, but we've already reserved the 31st
Sure.
on Tuesday morning before the other one, so why don't we look at that?
Sure.
And then we can just get input from everybody at that point. You'll come up with some scenarios and we'll go from there. Mr. Adamsack, you're next. Mr. Pickens, are you done?
When you say input, you talk about just our staff and commissioner, we're going to include the constitutional
Yeah,
officers on
yeah,
that too?
I said the Constitution.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure because they need to be part of this, yeah. Okay, I'm done.
Mr. Adamsack.
So there is a methodology for all of us to get together and talk together. That's meetings. That's publicly called meetings. So we had that opportunity. We had that opportunity throughout the year. So I understand this is a new idea that you came up with, but I think we failed again, and that's what I keep saying is when I first took this seat on the board, we had insurance meetings, and we were planning them to be regular and frequent with updates of data on where we were at as far as where we were shortfalling and things like that. Those stopped, and we stopped having them. So a few commissioners or some commissioners on this board said publicly during these meetings that, why aren't we having these meetings? When are we getting the data? Never got it. So now we get it literally 10, 15 days before we have to decide on it. A great plan comes up that I think if we all did sit down in a workshop with the constitutions, which is allowed under the sunshine, and could be done at any time, and any commissioner can call a workshop as long as we all decide to participate. That's how it works. So that should have been done. And this is a net new idea, but overall for the whole scheme of our insurance product for our employees, for the costs to the citizens, we need to be doing these things more frequently on all the subjects that we keep talking about. We keep having everything comes up. Oh, guys, we got 4 days to decide this. Oh, well, how do you know what questions to ask when we don't know our ideas? If we're talking about these things throughout the year, it would benefit ourselves, it would benefit staff, it would benefit the community. This is a key example of where that could have happened. And that's all I want to say. I love the idea. I think if we probably spent 4 hours with a group of people, including the constitutionals, we could probably hammer out the right solution with your idea as the base, and it'd probably be pretty close to exactly what you outlined. But unfortunately, it's the last second, last minute, just like everything we seem to do. Thank you.
Well, it's not like everything. Thank you, Mr. Adamsack. Mr. Ross.
Well, it's just, I think it's the appearance that we wait till the last minute, is what he's saying. But, you know, the optics here, Commissioner Turner's heart is in the right place. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But when we're looking at giving our staff a 3% pay raise and then taking 1% of that back, and if again, we're going to have to define the line of what we would consider the lower level that gets the full forgiveness. If it's 1%, you know, you're making $50,000 a year. By the time you pay your taxes, and you know, there's services and stuff that aren't available to people that are making 40, 50, 60,000 a year, the net impact could actually be more on the folks that are in the middle than the folks at the top or the bottom. And I think at the end of the day, we're having a $280,000 conversation per year. I think that we need to be looking at being more efficient, spending the money more wisely. We don't have the information. I don't know if there's a better deal for us out in the insurance world if we had switched the ASO to a different company, if we had switched the third-party administrator. I can tell you that based on what I'm being told by people in the insurance industry, we're not getting the data that we need on a regular basis to be able to make decisions. And that's really poor, since we're the ones that are managing this insurance fund. This is our, we're the board of directors for this self-insurance fund. And we've had no data. We don't hold our third-party administrator responsible to come in and engage with us on a regular basis. Instead, it's just, this is all we got for you guys. And when I went to Human Resources about 4, 5, 6 weeks ago and said, hey, when's open enrollment? Somebody asked me about it, and I said, I don't know. I asked them, they said, we don't know yet. I said, when does it normally happen? They said, it should be happening in August. I said, well, we have a budget to set. Then all of a sudden we're rushed to this meeting. And then I asked for as soon as I respond to the invite, I said, where's my data? I get the data on Monday before the meeting at 1:45 in the afternoon. So Commissioner Harvey, you're right. I don't think it's being done intentionally, but the appearance is that it's being done intentionally. For whatever reason, we're not going to get this data in a timely manner. We can actually go through it. And then what we get isn't enough to really sit down and we're forced to go in and start asking the questions, which takes time and effort. And instead of our staff being able to do their jobs, they'd be tied up with us. Or we come to a meeting and start asking questions, and everybody else is going, well, you might be right. I don't get it. I don't like it. But, what else is new? I've been saying it for 2.5 years. I'll continue to say it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to hold my remarks until Tuesday morning. If you're going to tell me that we're going to work on this Tuesday at 9 and invite the constitutionals, I'm just going to hold any further remarks that I have until that time.
All right, we are going to do that on next Tuesday, August 31st, 9 to 12. We'll schedule that time out. We do have to be done by 2 o'clock because we have delegation meeting in chambers. So we're going to be here anyway.
I don't think it'll take that long.
It won't, but we're going to
I really
schedule.
don't, unless we just drag it out.
Starting at 9 o'clock. Thank you. Next item on discussion, Clerk of the Court, Mr. Matt Reynolds is not with us today. Susan, you got anything?
We don't have anything, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appointments, starting to my left, Mr. Rawls, you have any appointments you would like to make?
I have none. I'm working on one, but don't have it right now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pickens.
I'm working on mine, but I do have a resignation. Mr. Mike Pegg is going to resign from the Recreation Advisory Board. So,
Okay, that's sad. I like him. Mr. Adamsack?
I have none, but I am going to put it out there just in case anyone's watching for the Animal Service Advisory Committee. If anyone is interested, unfortunately, the couple of people that I thought would be interested are very interested. They just aren't available during the time that they meet. So if there's anyone out there in the community that's watching this that's interested in that, please reach out to me. You have to be a District 5 resident.
Right.
And so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A lot of times whenever I'm trying to find someone to appoint, I actually go to the director in a lot of that area. And this time around, I've been wanting to talk to Miss Stella Brown, but obviously she's out at the moment on a tragedy. So I still would like to try to find somebody for the library board, but I think the library board needs to be somebody who's really interested in making the library a better place and that has the time and that's available when it's necessary. So I don't have any today, Mr. Chairman, but I want to wish Miss Stella real well and in her time and of grieving, and I'd also when she feels like it, maybe she can give me a suggestion on who she'd like on that board from District 3.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. I have none. County Administrator, Mr. Suggs?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. And just to follow up a little bit on Commissioner Turner's comments there at the end, we've been keeping a total, for lack of a better term. We have all of our department heads reach out to the HR department each day of those folks that are affected in their areas with COVID. At one point this week, we had, I believe it was 18 individuals that were out either positive with COVID or being tested for COVID symptoms. And yes, we've had the unfortunate loss of 2 of our family members in the last week. Ms. Tiffany Chamberlain out at the Solid Waste Division, as well as Ms. Stella Brown's husband this past weekend as well. So we definitely want to keep them in our thoughts and prayers. Know that we're still doing all we can to limit the exposure for staff, because we do want to be able to provide the services that our citizens not only expect but deserve. And with that said, we've had to make a couple of amendments to the way that we do our library services to maintain those as best we can. So we do want to make sure that we're aware of the situations that we're dealing with. You 5 are being kept in the loop as best we can with that information without getting too involved with HIPAA issues. Again, just thoughts and prayers for those families affected, thoughts and prayers for those of us who are dealing with it every day. The question used to be, do you know someone that's had COVID? Now the question is, do you know someone that doesn't? And it's really become a serious pandemic. I know our Public Safety Director, J.R. Grimes, and his staff are worn thin from dealing with it. The information that Mr. Grimes passed on to me this morning from our hospital is not real good. However, they're working with us and trying to help out in all ways that they can. So we just need to be mindful of those things, and it's the times that we live in. And that's really all the comments I'll have at this time, Mr. Chairman. I'll reserve the rest for after, for the workshop.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Commando.
I have nothing to add. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Turner, did you have something you want?
Yeah, would you happen to know, at one time, Sarah Herbine was gonna work, I think, on a list that on which committee appointments had to actually live in the district and which ones could be appointed that doesn't live in the district. We have them spread all over the board. So when questions come up, like I asked a minute ago about the library thing, would that have to live in the district or not? Or could it just be the district appointee but has to live in the county, for instance? I know that we have both ones, but nobody can ever seem to figure out which board that happened. Sarah was gonna try to straighten it out, but then we overwhelmed her with all the things, and now she's having issues, medical issues. So maybe we could figure out at some point or assign somebody to it. Julie has an office full of very capable young ladies, but I don't want to mention that we might want to get one of them to do it, because then when I walk by, Desiree's going to throw something out the window or out the door at me. So anyhow, if we could try to come up with some kind of a list that just says you have to live in the district, you don't have to live in the district for this particular one, that would be a tremendous asset when we're trying to get these appointments.
Absolutely.
I think Laura took the helm on that with Sarah. I think she's got a pretty good grasp on it.
Yeah, I'll meet with her after
And
this
Tabitha.
meeting.
The list exists, because I think I had it sent to me a long time ago.
It does.
By Sarah, I think she completed it.
Could
so-
I see it then, maybe?
We'll see where it's at, and we'll see if we can get a copy to everybody, and if
It's
it's
somewhere
not
out there.
completed, we'll work on getting it completed for you.
If I can find out my email, I'll send it to you guys so you can redistribute
There was some, they couldn't relate the ordinance but I think they got most of that cleaned up, so. Thank you. Mr. Commando, I already called on you. You had nothing, right? Commissioner comments will start on to my far right. Mr. Adamsack?
I don't know if you want to start with me first, but,
I'm sorry?
nothing.
Oh, okay.
I'm fine.
I
So
just
I guess
wanted
first thing I'll start with is, we had done the joint meeting with Interlock, and I think that was pretty successful. But one of our other key, obviously I'd love to see us do the joint meetings with all the different cities within our commission area. But City of Plaque obviously is a key partner of ours, or needs to be a key partner, and we need to build that bridge with them as much as we possibly can, and continue to work with them. I just was wondering when we were going to have the joint meeting with the City of Palaca. It's been mentioned several times by the chair that we were working on that. Where are we at with scheduling that meeting and getting it off the ground? Because, I've been here almost a year and we haven't done one yet.
I have no problem with the commissioner in that district reaching out. I'm
Okay.
not going to do that personally. I feel like that's a commissioner thing, and then bring it back to the board, and the whole board will move it forward.
So we have well, that's the first time we've said that, but that's okay. I
Can I-
thought I thought it was
No,
on the
you will
chairman
in a
to do
minute.
that.
Okay.
Finish up, Mr. Adamsack.
The next thing that came up in the conversation I had with some citizens out in Interlochen, as well as in the city, and then getting into my district down towards the Children's Reading Center, is maybe there's a possibility of, right now the way they're doing it, because the traffic has gotten so bad, it's clogging up 315 in Interlochen, or it was. So the way they're doing is they're diverting the cars at IES, Interlochen Elementary, into kind of the ditch area in front of the school. Maybe if there's a way to harden that shoulder, so once we get rains, luckily so far in the school year, we haven't had hard rains. But once we get a hard rain, people aren't gonna be able to divert into that ditch to allow other traffic to go through. And the same thing kind of applies in St. John's out here at the Children's Reading Center. I don't know why I'm speaking so terribly today. But at the Children's Reading Center, the same problem has happened the other day. I came down St. John's, and you basically were waiting 30 minutes just to get down the street, because the small car, a lot of the SUVs and big trucks were pulled over into the kind of median and the ditch, but it's pretty rough there. So both of those happen to be county-maintained areas of the roads. If there's a way we could smooth that out or do something to assist the sheriff and the school district to make that a little bit smoother, so when we do have weather events, which we're gonna have, and it's not even gonna solve the problem in St. John's, because that's backed up. And I haven't been to the other schools, those are the two that I happen to drive by, but I've heard Kelly Smith is also in pretty bad shape in this effect too, but I don't think they have quite as many options on the side of the road as we possibly have in Interlochen and the Children's Reading Center. I don't know if that's something we could look at Public Works to go out there and see if there's a way we can maybe extend the shoulder so cars can get to the side, out of the way, just for that 150 yards or 200 yards leading into those two schools, and maybe check the other schools just because I don't know what they look like in Crescent City and other city schools, just because I haven't happened to drive by them while the traffic was backed up for a mile. And it would help people be able to pick up their children more efficiently as well. So how would we get that off the ground to look into what that would cost or what we can do in those locations?
Bring it to a transportation meeting and
I would say.
Okay. I will bring it up today's transportation meeting.
Okay. Are you done?
Next item is the Monument Protection Ordinance. Again, do we have a timeline when we're going to put that on an agenda? It is written, I believe that Commissioner Pickens has it, so I'd like to see us get that on the next agenda if possible.
If you make a motion, how we're going to do these is, if you want it to be brought up to the next workshop, then you bring it up.
I think, are we at the point where we come to a regular meeting for a vote, or is we're going to
I think
re-workshop it?
It's up to you to decide and see if you can gain the support of the other commissioners.
I make a motion that we put the new monument ordinance as written by our legal counsel, Rich Commando, on the next Board of County Commission meeting to move it forward.
Motion by Commissioner Amzat. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rawls. Discussion. I'm going to tell you,
Go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and state my opinion. I've done a lot of soul searching the last few weeks about this, and Commissioner Turner, I heard your comment in the public meeting when you said, why do we want to continue this when somebody else has done this? Mr. Theobald, Joe Theobald, called me and basically said the same thing. What I've learned in government is you stay in your lane, basically. I've asked our attorney, I've asked our sheriff to review, I think he asked Alex to review the state statute concerning monuments and things, and I think we're pretty much covered. I think that our monuments and our murals and things that I was concerned about are covered by the governor and the legislators who did a great job. And I don't see the point of us going any further because they've already mandated municipalities and counties to make sure that these monuments are protected and these murals. So, and I think that's appropriate. And it's not saying that I don't support it. It's just saying that I'm going to say, I'm sorry, Mr. Ross?
No, I was just checking something.
I'm just saying that I think that why reinvent the wheel when the wheel's already been done, and that's how I feel about it. Mr. Turner, you wanted to say something, or?
Not now,
Not now.
sir. You just stole all the thunder I had. I felt the same exact thing.
Mr. Rawls, you have the floor, sir.
So it doesn't protect the monuments from the Board of County Commissioners or future boards. You said the government should stay in its lane, and I agree with you, and we should have stayed in our lane, and we should have put this to a vote of the public, but we didn't, and it brought us to where we are now. So if staying in our lane means we go ahead and notify the clerk or the election superintendent that we'll be putting this on the 2022 agenda, I would agree with that. Or no, I'm sorry, a ballot, I would agree with that. But until then, there is no protection. This commission took it upon themselves to move that monument. There is zero protection offered at that
Mr.
point.
Rawls. I already said that I've consulted with our attorney, I've consulted with our sheriff, and they feel like, Mr. Rawls, would you please, just a moment. I've already consulted, and they can respond to your question, okay?
Your questions, can the
Can the
board
Board of County
decide?
Commissioners, under the Florida Protection statute, elect to move that monument if they choose to do so?
That's a whole different question.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying that
Okay.
the monument ordinance does. It protects it from the BOCC.
But, Mr. Rawls, in all due respect, another commission can come up here
I
and do
understand that.
away with everything we do. Is that not correct, Mr. Commando?
Yes, that's correct.
Then why do we go through our comp plan? Because another commission come through and change the comp
They
plan.
can.
So,
They can do
yeah,
anything.
it's a rhetorical question. The public spoke loudly and clearly, they wanted an opportunity to vote on this. We took that away from them.
They didn't speak loud and clear.
Yes, they sure did.
Spoke to- A few spoke to you.
Okay. So, I obviously agree that this needs to move forward. You've obviously, you said you've done your soul search and you've had a change of heart. I, for one, am prepared to vote to move this thing forward.
Thank you. Mr. Pickens, you have the floor next.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Commissioner Commissioner Turner and Chairman Harvey. I don't know what this is really going to accomplish, because another board could turn around and just change this, another commission. And also with the protections that are already in place, those things are there, unless I'm mistaken. So I see no reason to move this thing forward.
Mr. Adams, you have the floor.
So just like anything that we do can be done, undone, or redone by any commission going forward. So that comment really is irrelevant. But in my opinion, what this does is it establishes autonomy, because the same thing is any commission can undo it. Any future state legislative body can undo it. So this allows us to have local anonymity, which is what we should be striving for as a county commission, because we are the county commission. We are not the state legislators. So if we want to be state legislators, one of us should run for state legislator. We don't control what they do. We don't know if in 2 years the legislator decides to remove that protection ordinance. We don't know that. So this allows us to take the autonomy and bring that local and allow us to make decisions about our local monuments, our local resources, our local things that we want to see in our community here locally. That is the whole point of having local government. Most government should be distributed locally and as small government as we possibly can. And I actually think that the state had to do it based on the atmosphere of the country at the time, but it really wasn't the state's place to do that for our particular monuments. And this also adds an extra thing of a fine of $500. It does other things in the ordinance if someone does decide to do something. So I fully support it, and I think we need to step up and be a county that owns things in our county and represents ourselves and our citizens as the individuals that they are, as a collective group. And I agree with Mr. Rawls, had it been put to a vote of the community, that would have been the best version, but we didn't do that. The prior commission didn't do that. I wasn't part of that voter decision. But here's where we are today.
Thank you. Mr. Turner.
When this thing started out, it was supposed to be the historical that's going to protect all protection. Now it's boiled back down to the monument. I'm surely not for it then, because the state's already done the monument thing. It's not going anywhere. If it does, they're going to be violating state law. So, it's called self-inflicted pain. Come on, commissioners. You really want to just spend your life on self-inflicted pain? I wish we could put this effort forward into something that was constructive for this county instead of continuing to go down these paths of self-inflicted pain. I know that there's a group of people on all sides of every issue that we do, and very passionate on this issue. It's protected. It's protected. So why do we want to do self-inflicted pain? I'm not campaigning up here in this seat. I'm not. I'm trying to move the county forward and try to make the county prosper. And I don't see how that'll help the county one bit. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Adams.
I feel no pain on any subject ever that I speak about from this commission seat, so I don't even know what that means, self-inflicted pain. So we continue to have conversations. It's our job as representatives of the community to go out to the community and speak to as many people as we possibly can. And we do need to do that across all districts, because we live with all the people in this community, whether it's the city, whether it's other municipalities, whether it's Crescent City, Interlochen, Johnson, where I live in the middle of Norwich. If I based everything off where I lived, I'd only be based off a couple hundred people. So that obviously doesn't work. So I just don't get what self-inflicted pain means. if you feel pain from your decision and you feel you made the decision under the proper guise and your own thoughts and taking in all the variables, there should be no pain. So, thank you.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
The opposed have it. Mr. Adamczak, what else do you have on your comments?
I had a conversation via email with Administrator Suggs about our employee recognition program. And I'd like for us to start considering maybe in a workshop or in a regular meeting, but maybe expanding that a little bit, maybe to go to a monthly recognition situation and maybe have the quarterly be a larger amount, just to strive people to, maybe even the quarterly could be a collective of the 3 monthlies, and whatever one of them 3 we feel is the best, maybe would be your quarterly employee of the month type thing. It just gives the opportunity for people to have more opportunities to be recognized for the work they're doing. There is a whole lot of people in our ground level troops here that are getting a lot done with little resources, and I just think any opportunity we have to recognize them. I've been getting calls about specific county employees from the community, which is fantastic. I'd love to hear that, so keep bringing them in. One of them was Jay's employee, and another one was Mike Troxel's. So I just think we need a little bit more opportunities to get these people recognized, and maybe up the amount that we give them a little bit to make it more attractive, and you know, that type of thing brings, and maybe do a little bit more where we get a picture of them out on Facebook when they do it, and things like that, to make it be a really feel-good thing that helps them to get their word out there. And it does help them if they decide to leave here and go somewhere else. Hey, I was employee of the month 2 times in the 3 years I was there. Just things like that allows them more opportunities to build their resumes for other positions even within the county or maybe some of our other municipalities here. I just think it would be good for our employees to look into that.
Good, thank you. Anything else?
I would like to see that on a workshop, I guess. Could we add that to the next workshop?
You can talk to Miss Sarah and get that started. I think she'd be more than adequate.
We don't need to make a motion to get that on a workshop?
I think you're gonna get consensus out of everybody up here with no problem that expand that program.
I just want to make sure, because we got the new
I would
procedure to
go to your department
make
head
motions to get things in workshops, so.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, several. So the last thing I want to talk about is the budget discussion. I think you said we have the opportunity to have some more budget discussions between now and September, Chairman, I guess between now and like September 13th, whenever those meetings are.
December 14th is our first.
Yeah,
meeting.
14th. Do we have a set schedule for those budget meetings? Are we going to have those budget meetings?
Well, first thing we're going to do on August 31st, and we'll discuss the budget with the insurance, and then we'll set another meeting after that.
Okay, so we're going to basically run up against the fence again with budget, like I said, like we do with.
If we need
not
one.
everything, but with a lot of
Yeah.
things, with the most important things that I feel as a
If the consensus of the
commissioner.
board needs one, you know, it might be the consensus of the board doesn't. I'm not going to force people to attend a meeting.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Adamczak.
I guess I'd like to make a motion that we have a budget meeting.
Would you just, okay.
Is
go
that the procedure, or? You
can-
tell me,
You're a
Chairman.
commissioner, you can do what you want. The problem is, we've already got one for next week. Let's see how much we can
We have
get.
one that's talking about one subject, one small subject.
It might
There's-
not be. It might end up being many subjects. So why don't we see
I'd
what
love
we're
to
gonna
agree
talk-
with you there, but every time we bring up a subject that's off agenda, we get told by yourself and other commissioners on this board that that's not on this specific
Let him make
subject.
his motion, and he can either get it
The meeting
voted
will
up
be
or
about the
down.
budget next on the 31st.
The budget as a whole.
When you're talking budget, you're talking budget.
Are the constitutional officers going to be at that meeting?
Gonna invite him.
Yeah, that was said.
That was said they were going to be there,
Okay.
so I believe that would be the time to start the discussion of your concerns and then future meetings that you would like to have.
So August 31st meeting is a budget meeting that can talk about anything within the budget and includes the
The
super.
first items we're going to try to dissect is the insurance.
Okay,
But we got it scheduled. We can talk about anything you want to talk about
okay.
concerning budget.
Thank you. That clears that up for me, and August 31st is a fine date for that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Let's jump over to my far left, Mr. Ross.
I promise it won't take that long. So I know we don't have another, we are going to have a meeting next week, but I just wanted to reiterate what was said by Mr. Suggs about 9/11. It's coming up on us pretty quick. And if you take a look at the tensions in the world right now, it's very frustrating. As a veteran, my heart just goes out to all the guys that did serve in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Taking a look at what's happening right now over in the Middle East and the instability doesn't bode well for us as a community. I think right now, with the economy that we're facing, with increases in cost of durable materials, vehicles, I'm concerned as a commissioner for our community, for our budget process. There's a $4 million hole in it that I was given. Nobody's ever addressed that $4 million. I, for one, am concerned about that. The ARPA PowerPoint presentation you said we're going to be discussing on I guess, Tuesday the 7th.
I'm going to bring that up to see if it's a consensus of the board.
I'm fine.
But let's.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because I think, we need to get as much of that money out there as we can to the public. I'm in favor of putting all $7 million per year out to our public to try to correct. Somebody mentioned earlier about the eviction that took place. We've got to be able to curb these things to protect our community. These are dollars well spent. Substance abuse and mental health, I think, needs to be a front runner in that as well. Okay, you mentioned city meeting. On our meeting in January, I think it was January the 3rd, when you asked us to give us our list of priorities, I asked then that we start having regular meetings in the city of Palatka. I brought it up 2 other times since, and you said you were working on it. Never once have you said, well, the commission on district needs to make it happen. So I will make it happen. Okay, so if I set a date, we're going to have a meeting. Is that how this works?
No, how it's going to work is you're going to talk to the city of Palatka about some dates and bring it back to
Okay.
this board. And if the board feels they want to move forward as a whole, we'll move forward.
Why would we not?
I don't know why we would not, but
Okay.
I'm just saying. I did that to you. When I had the interlock, I brought back dates. I asked you if you wanted to meet. That's how we did that.
Well, actually, that was supposed to be a town hall meeting, but.
But I brought
So-
it here and asked if the board,
Wait, so-
I didn't run out there on my own and do something on myself.
But you've told me 2 times in the past 3 months that you were working towards getting this meeting set up. Now you're saying you're not. I got it. Is there a particular time that the board would like to meet
Why
with the
don't you
city?
bring back a proposal?
Let me ask my question. Is there a particular time that sits well with the commissioners? Would you all prefer evening, midday, or morning?
Why don't you bring a proposal?
I'd prefer evening.
I can't bring back a proposal and go to the city and say, we would prefer blank until, so the question is, do you guys have a preference? Would you prefer early evening, late evening, morning time? What's good?
Mr. Chairman, I realize it isn't my turn to speak, but what is the subject that he would like to speak
That's what-
about? That's what I'd like. You want to have a meeting
Oh.
just to have a meeting? Because then I ain't going.
No, I think we need to,
Have
take a
a
look at all of our interlocal agreements. I think we need to take a look at, because we have a lot of interlocal agreements that are expired.
Then why don't you bring a proposal back that what you want to talk about and with the time you want to talk?
I think if we had our first meeting, and I think this is going to be the first of many meetings, I think we should be meeting at least quarterly, if not more often. The epicenter of Putnam County is the city of Palatka. As Palatka goes, so will the rest of us.
Commissioner.
I think that we need to be helping each other out as much as we can, taking on projects.
Mr. Rawls, please bring back a proposal. All I'm asking you to do.
It's the commissioner's
Mr.
time.
Adams,
Could
Act,
you
you
let him
don't have the
speak,
floor,
please?
sir.
I'd like to hear what he said. Do it.
No,
I
it's
said
not.
it's the commissioner's time. Please let him speak.
Mr. Rawls is
It's
not the
Mr.
chairman.
Rawls. Yeah.
So,
You still have the floor, Mr.
okay, so
Rawls.
now you want me to bring back a proposal.
That the whole board can see what the agenda is and what times you're.
I think we need to have a meeting just to lay out an agenda. I think we should have a meeting and let the city also come in and tell us what we.
Bring back, that's what I did.
Let's have a town hall meeting.
I met with the town of Interlaken, brought back some dates. We chose the dates and what the topics were going to be.
I don't know
It's
that we need
simple.
topics. I think we should let the city bring the topics as well.
I'm not going to meet over the same topics that they don't want to discuss and they don't want to deal with.
What do you mean?
So you need to bring a proposal back
Well,
to.
can you give me a list of those
I'm not
topics real
going
quick
to
so
do
I'll know
that.
what's off
No,
limits?
I'm not. Bring back a
No, I
proposal.
didn't realize we had boundaries.
We don't. Anything else on your comments?
Do you think it would matter?
Yeah, I do.
I don't. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Pickens.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Harvey. I just want to say that I just want to thank all the employees of Putnam County, all the department heads, executive directors, because this second wave of COVID has affected everybody. We've had a couple of losses. you know, in our family. And I know it has strained the workforce, so I just want to thank all the staff for stepping up and keeping this county going. You know, we're still getting complaints about, you know, all different kind of things, roads not being mowed, not being graded, but I just want to tell the public we're doing the best we can, and we will get through this. It's just a real trying time, and that's all I've got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pickens. Mr. Turner?
Didn't forget me today, huh?
I did not, sir. I try to keep a list going, so.
Okay. I was gonna say a lot of what's already been said here today, but I do want to reiterate the part about, to let the public know, Public Works isn't over there having a crap game. I'm promising you they're not. They're working as diligently as they can, trying to get caught up. It's just like I said at the last meeting, on the mowing we've lost, and it's not all their fault, I'm sorry. That's the weather, it's the employee shortages, it's whatever you want to call it. I mean, I think they tried to get a mower a while back and it took them forever, and I don't know they even got it now or what. But anyhow, there's supply line shortages. There's all these other things that everybody's dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but I'm telling you that I'm asking for the public's understanding that it's taken a little longer to get a ditch dug. You can't dig them when they're full of water. You can't fix a road when it's underwater. It turns into a mud hole. So I learned that the hard way. So they are trying. It doesn't help at all when they go and grade a road one day and that afternoon they get an inch of rain on that one road. And then it's like they didn't even do anything at all, and they're not in the rotation again for 5 weeks. So for 5 weeks, that road's gonna just get worse and worse and worse until they can get it back in the rotation. It is frustrating. It's frustrating on the people that live there. I understand, but I just don't know of anything they can do to eliminate that. The ditches, there's a lot of ditches, and with all the rain we've been having, we're sure finding where they are, the ones that need to be cleaned out. I mean, so I really believe that they're trying to get to them as quickly as they can. If we could get some of the equipment out of District 1, some of the rest of us could catch a break. Anyhow, I would like to see us, I spoke a little bit about it at the last meeting, but I really would like to see us try to come up with a plan for next year to where maybe we could try to come up with a different mowing plan than what we have right now. Part of the problem this year, and I know that if someone that pays close attention to the commission meetings may have seen it, but we haven't had any prisoner crews this year.
That's right.
And they do all the road clearing on most of the dirt roads and a lot of the ditches and areas where they just can't get to with mowers. And so this just hasn't been done the whole summer. It hasn't been done because the resource that we used has not been available this year for that purpose. So hopefully next year we can get prisoner crews back. We signed back up on the list last month, and so hopefully we can get that done. But I'm just telling you, that's a valuable resource that the county just flat lost. It used to be they did all the paved roads. So anyhow, that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Do want to, under my comments, Sarah at the newspaper, you went to great heights to have a story the other day. That was very impressive.
No pun intended.
Well, I think it was a pun intended, and I did it. So, but you're a lot more gutsy than I would have been. I will tell you that. My wife and daughter jump out of a plane, and they love it. I'd rather sit on the ground and watch that happen. So, won't take my youngest daughter said, "Mom, take your jewelry off. I don't want to dig it up out of the ground." So, you know, that was brutal, wasn't it? But they are brutal when they want to be. The other item I want to talk about is September 7th. I think we do need to have an afternoon meeting. Staff will just be coming back to work. I think Labor Day, doesn't that affect y'all that weekend? So I think maybe the afternoon, 2 o'clock, We could have a workshop on ARPA funds if the board has consensus. So what's the feeling of the board on that?
Yeah.
Good, good. Okay, so 2 o'clock, we'll have a ARPA fund. The other thing that was brought to my attention, if we have an open-ended budget meeting on the 31st, we could cause some issues. So here's what I propose. If you have specific questions about the budget, get with our staff, possibly by tomorrow, and let's go ahead and ask your questions so staff has time to research. I don't want to try to overload that day because we only have a finite time, and if we need to come back, we can come back. I don't want to do it on September 7th in the morning because staff will just be getting back to work at that point. So I'd rather, but if you have something specific, get it to our staff tomorrow afternoon. They can do the research and we can talk about it on that date.
When would you like that meeting to start on the 7th?
That would be a 2 o'clock meeting.
2 o'clock, okay.
Yep. And that's all I have. Now we have, our next item is our public comment on miscellaneous items. This portion of the agenda is not designed to allow citizens, to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. It is not reasonable to expect that the board will engage or debate or deliberations about matters on which the board has received no prior information as part of the agenda. Citizens, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Public comment cards are conveniently placed in the meeting room in the back here at the entrance when you came in. And please give them to Deputy Clerk who sits on the right, Miss Ashley over there. But you don't have to have a card to speak. So is there any public comments? Please come up and state your name and address for the record.
Sheila Beck, 185 County Road 309C. Actually, I have 3 things. One, I want to thank you all for doing the Patriot Day. I lost my stepfather in the World Trade Center, so that'll be a special day for me. Number 2, the Boys Ranch came up and they obviously are doing phenomenal. I'm wondering why we don't have something like that for girls. The teenage generation right now is kind of like, I know for fact because I'm raising one, they're a little testy. They're trying to push their limits. They can't get backhanded in the mouth like we used to when we grew up. So I don't know how, we need some kind of Scared Straight program. We need something. But these girls definitely need something.
Miss Sheila, I had a daddy that scared me straight. Trust me. I thought the man would want to kill me.
Well,
go ahead.
I'm doing it.
You're good.
I'm doing it by myself. So,
Yeah.
and the third thing is about the ordinance. So I'm not here to debate it or anything. My thing is that whether y'all pass the ordinance or not, I don't understand even how this just happened today, because y'all have passed it to the county attorney 3 times to revise it, and now you're not even going to put it on the agenda? Like, you just wasted all that time. I know for fact that 2 of the county commissioners were sent to Vel Adams' schedule for all his protests until September 30th. Not that that ordinance is going to stop any of that, but hanging stuff on our statue, the police aren't doing anything because it's not defacing the statue, but someone can climb up it and hang something on it, and there's no consequence. To put balloons across the county courthouse about golden calves, and then county commissioners are just sitting there laughing about it. Not cool. You got someone out there that's protested Saturday, Monday, gonna be out there Friday, and plans to boycott Putnam County businesses for 31 days. And nobody's doing nothing.
Thank you, Ms. Beck. Appreciate it.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else want to speak in the audience? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.